Hello and a very good morning to all of you. We at CTS COA are delighted to continue into our fourth day of Samvad Shrunkla 6.0 and we extend a warm welcome to all of you. As you all know, Samvad Shrunkla was a platform conceptualized during the first lockdown towards opening a dialogue across lateral streams of design with the aim to generate a collaborative space of exchange. In the previous 3 days, we have looked at diverse verticals of creativity through architecture, animation, and yesterday we had Mr. Ravish Jaiswal share his thoughts on theatre being a blessing in disguise. Today, we initiate a subtopic in the Shrunkla, one that requires a deeper thought and needs to be discussed with compassion. And for that, we have with us Mr. Nikhil Taneja, who would open the space of inclusivity furthermore by conversing on this topic. So let us begin with a brief introduction of him.
Nikhil Taneja is a writer, producer, storyteller, entrepreneur, teacher, and youth mental health advocate. He is the co-founder and CEO of Yuva, India's first Gen Z-driven youth media, research and impact organization. He has previously led creative teams across YRF, Viacom 18, and MTV India, and found most joy in being a professor of journalism at Jai Hind College, Mumbai, for 7 years. Most of Nikhil's work has been creating content, web and TV shows, as well as movies on and around subjects of urgent issues like mental health, gender equality, youth empowerment, and LGBTQ+ rights, including the Six Pack Band, India's first transgender pop group, which won the Cannes Grand Prix Glass Lion Award. Nikhil is the first person from South Asia to have served on the Global Advisory Board of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Community Goalkeepers. He currently writes a fortnightly column on mental well-being called That Feeling When for Hindustan Times and is the Festival Creative Director of the India Film Project. With no further delay, I request Nikhil Taneja to begin today's discussion, Kaach Ki Zameen, Gender Dialogue and Perception of Masculinity.
All right. So, unlike the previous 2 days, today's session is going to be a moderated one where Anushka and I will be in conversation with Nikhil. Before we begin, the discussion today, as the title suggests, will revolve around mental health and masculinity. We often feel we know these terms. We think we understand it, we get it. However, there is sometimes a slight hesitancy or an innocent lack of understanding in our communication. Anushka, what do you feel?
I would like to share my example here. How in the past it was difficult for me to understand that men can be vulnerable too. Where in our society, only the angry young man is a real man. How far do we understand these notions, and is our idea of masculinity still broken? So let's begin the day 4 of Samvad Shrunkla by asking Nikhil these very terms. So my first question to you would be, why do Indian men not speak about mental health, and what made you speak about it?
Hello. Hi. First of all, thank you so much for having me here, ma'am. And thanks for the really kind introduction, Anushka. Really excited to be here. Really happy to. I love coming to colleges, speaking to and meeting students. I'd also hope that through the course of this discussion, we can have a little bit of a more interactive session where I can hear some of you as well, not just be speaking the whole time. I am. It's a very pertinent question. You know, why is it that why is it difficult for Indian men to be vulnerable or speak about their mental health? And I think I would first actually talk about gender in general over here before we even talk about men. because I feel like it's very important to understand that what's happening with men is a part of a system of patriarchy. It's not, so to speak, only something that is happening with men, right? In our country, when a young person is born, if that happens to be in a female body, it's called a girl. And unfortunately, in our country, the moment you have someone who's born a girl, there's a thank you. There's almost a mission statement that is given to the girl. Can anyone tell me, like, when you're born a girl in India, what's a mission statement that your parents immediately give you? Can anyone tell me that? Paraya? Paraya Dhan. Yeah. What is the mission statement? What do you have to do? What do you have to achieve as a girl at the end of, when you are born? Marry. I think I've heard it already, and I think most people will agree over here. When you're born a girl in our country, unfortunately, even today, the mission statement that your parents give you immediately is that you have to marry. And शादी जब करनी होती है, when you have to marry, what do you need for that? What do you need? You need good education for the girl, but what does the girl need to marry? Money. Sanskar values money, but you need something even before that. What does a girl need to marry? Boy. You don't just need a boy. You don't just need a ladka. You need a अच्छा लड़का, है ना? सिर्फ लड़का नहीं इनफ होता, अच्छा लड़का चाहिए होता है. बचपन से आपके पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं कि आपको अच्छा लड़का एट सम पॉइंट इन टाइम मिलेगा. एंड अच्छा लड़का, अच्छे लड़के को ढूंढने के लिए, फ्रॉम द टाइम दैट यू आर बॉर्न टू द टाइम दैट you grow up, you have to follow a certain set of rules so that you get to marry an अच्छा लड़का. What are girls asked to do from the time that they are young so that one day they will get an अच्छा लड़का? Who can tell me what are the different things that girls are expected to do? Learn cooking, absolutely. सुंदर एंड सुशील होना पड़ेगा, absolutely. सुंदर का, एंड सुंदर क्या है हमारी कंट्री के अंदर? व्हाट इज सुंदर? फेयर. सबको पता है, वेरी गुड. सो बचपन से ही जो है ना फेयरनेस क्रीम्स दी जाती हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि जो है ना तुम्हें सुंदर दिखना है, तुम्हें ना गोरा होना है, बिकॉज तुम्हें अच्छा लड़का ना सिर्फ गोरी लड़कियों से शादी करता है अपेरेंटली. व्हाट एल्स? सॉरी? Be pure, absolutely. You can't have non-vegetarian.
लड़कों से बातें ज़्यादा मत करो.
लड़कों से बातें ज़्यादा मत. So
friendship नहीं.
Correct. So अच्छा लड़का is always going to be outside of the group of friends you have. It will never be among the male friends you will have. That is just the rule. तो आप किसी और लड़कों से बात नहीं कर सकते because वो अच्छा लड़का नहीं हो सकता. अच्छा लड़का से पेरेंट्स को पता होता है. तो absolutely correct. What else? Anything else? Sorry? I didn't, sorry. Manage both work and home. That's though, I would say, is still a very big privilege that, you have, that if you are saying work. Because most, unfortunately, in our country, most women are told कि शादी के बाद काम क्यों करना है ना? आपको तो घर पे ही बैठना है, आपको तो घर संभालना है. A woman has to take care of the home. So why do you need to work? Okay, education is fine, but after marriage, अच्छा लड़का कमाएगा ना, तुम्हें क्या करना कमा के? That is the expectation. Girls are told, you can't go out in the night too much because अच्छा लड़का नहीं मिलेगा. तुम सुबह बाहर मत जाओ because धूप होती है, तुम काले हो जाओ कि अच्छा लड़का फिर नहीं मिलेगा. You have to talk in a certain way, you have to sit in a certain way. Apparently ना अच्छी लड़कियों का बैठने का भी एक तरीका होता है. ज़्यादा हंसो मत, अच्छा लड़का नहीं मिलेगा. चुप मत रहो, अच्छा लड़का नहीं मिलेगा. ज़्यादा मत बोलो, अच्छा लड़का नहीं मिलेगा. It's all, everything, you are told from the time that you are young to the time you grow up is for to get to this place कि आपको अच्छा लड़का मिल जाए. है ना? That's the chart and the mission statement of a girl's life. Now I'll go to the boy's life. What happens when a boy, when someone's born, and I want to obviously over here say that when you're born in this country, obviously, there are many genders, बट हमारी कंट्री में पेरेंट्स को तो सिर्फ दो ही समझ आते हैं. सो इफ देव सीन समबडी बॉर्न इन अ मेल बॉडी दे इमीडिएटली थिंक इट्स अ बॉय. सो एंड बॉय को भी मिशन स्टेटमेंट दे दिया जाता है. व्हाट इज द मिशन स्टेटमेंट दैट बॉयज आर गिवन? हाँ, इंजीनियर. इंजीनियर क्यों बनना चाहिए? क्या चाहिए होता है? मिशन स्टेटमेंट क्या है? पैसे कमाएगा. बस, परफेक्ट. तो लड़की शादी करेगी, लड़का पैसे कमाएगा. ठीक है ना? और पैसे क्यों कमाने हैं? हाँ हाँ, किसने बोला भी है? अच्छी लड़की नहीं, अच्छा लड़का बनने के लिए. अच्छा लड़का कैसे बनता है? देखो, अच्छी लड़कियों के लिए बहुत सारे रूल्स होते हैं, है ना? देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ रूल्स दैट यू हैव टू फॉलो टू बी लाइक समबडी हु कैन गेट एन अच्छा लड़का. अच्छा लड़का बनने के लिए एक ही रूल है, पैसा कमाना है. वो कैसे भी आएगा, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. तो देन यू डोंट हैव टू लुक, यू डोंट हैव टू बी फेयर, यू कैन वॉक इन एनी वे, यू कैन टॉक इन एनी वे, यू कैन लुक एनी वे, यू डोंट हैव टू यूज लाइक एनी काइंड ऑफ क्रीम, यू कैन गो आउट इन द नाइट, यू कैन गो आउट इन द मॉर्निंग, एज लॉन्ग एज यू अर्निंग मनी. So the whole worth of boys in our country comes down to numbers. आपका CTC क्या है, आपका पैकेज क्या है, कितने मार्क्स आए, कितने परसेंटेज आए, हाउ मच डिड यू. अगर कोई हॉबी है लड़के की, तो इज दैट हॉबी लीडिंग टू अ प्राइज, इज इट लीडिंग टू अ ट्रॉफी समवेयर? इफ नॉट, देन वाई यू वेस्टिंग योर टाइम? इससे अच्छा इंजीनियरिंग करो, इससे अच्छा MBA करो, इससे अच्छा पढ़ाई करो, बिकॉज दैट विल गेट यू अ नंबर, एंड दैट नंबर इज द वर्थ ऑफ अ बॉय. दैट तो वे लड़कियों का वर्थ होता है कि आप पराया धन, एज मैम सेड, लाइक द लड़कियों का वर्थ इज ऑलवेज अबाउट व्हाट शी विल बी वर्थ टू अ बॉय, एंड द बॉय का वर्थ इज ऑलवेज इन द नंबर. सो जो प्रेशर, so obviously, thankfully now we have been talking about the pressures that, and it's after centuries of oppression, we have now started talking about the pressures that women face and the oppression that women face. And one of the best things that has happened over the last few years is that at least in a certain section of society, and this is not across society, so only in a certain section of urban society, feminism is there, where girls find female friendship. They find tribes of women who support them sometimes, and if fortunately, they also find men who are feminist, who understand equality, and that's a great thing that is happening in the world. On the other hand, there is no positive movement available for men. Feminism ke liye, what is the counter positive movement for men in this country, in this world? There is nothing. There is no tribe of positive movement for men, where men can speak about, they can express what they're going through. And unfortunately, men don't even think that there is anything to express, because आप मान जाते हो ना. से क्या होता है ना, जब आप एक टाइम तक ना लड़कियों को बनना होता है, once you fulfill your mission statement and you are ready for marriage, and the boy fulfills the mission statement and becomes gets money, and then you marry. What is that called? जब आप दोनों ना अपनी मिशन स्टेटमेंट पूरी कर लेते हो, शादी हो जाती, क्या बोलते हैं सोसाइटी के अंदर? सेटल्ड. I have, this word has become such a huge thing in my head when I was growing up, because constantly I was being told, you have to settle, you have to settle, you have to settle. What is the meaning of the word settle? What is it? No, but what is the English meaning of the word settle? To be in a place.
Stability, stable.
One plus का है never stable, never settle. So is it never stable?
No.
So what is it? Never what? What is settle? So settle का English meaning, I'm just asking. What is the English meaning of the word settle? That's one meaning. There's another meaning also. Never settle. When one plus says never settle, what are they saying? ये तो नहीं बोलते never stable, फिर तो फोन नहीं चलेगा. Never be satisfied,
Never settle for less, I guess.
Okay, I'll synonym बताता हूँ. Compromise, settle, देखा जाए, never settle. Settling, when you settle for something, you are compromising, right? You are settling for something. That's what it says. You settle, you compromise. कि जो ना अब ठीक है, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं हो पाएगा. And when I think about it, the biggest thing that happens to you when you finish your mission statements as a boy and a girl in a society is you settle, which is to say, actually देखा जाए, you're compromising. And why is it compromise? Because till that point you are fighting. You are still saying कि जो ना मुझे शायद इंजीनियरिंग नहीं करनी है, मुझे कुछ और करना है, मुझे MBA नहीं करना है, मुझे शायद डांस करना है, मुझे गिटार बजाना है, मुझे स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी करनी है, मुझे लिखना है, व्हाटएवर. गर्ल्स आर सेइंग मुझे अभी शादी नहीं करनी, मुझे जो है ना और पढ़ाई करनी है, मुझे एक्चुअली इंडिया से बाहर जाना है, मुझे और जाके पढ़ना है, आई वांट टू हैव मोर एक्सपीरियंसेस इन लाइफ. But you fight and you fight and you fight, and at some point of time, you know, when you realize that you can't fight anymore, you settle. And that's the time you get married, and that's the achievement in society ki ho gaya settle. And that is true for most people in our country. It's if you have a love marriage, that's an aberration. If you have a happy marriage where like you're getting what you want, that's an aberration. That's a massive privilege. So this is unfortunately the graph of, you know, at least our two mainstream genders, so to speak, you know, and a third gender ke bare mein to, I mean, the kind of unfortunate oppression they go through, that's a different thing. When you live in a society where this is the thing कि दोनों को force होता है, you know, to kind of go up, grow to a place where you have to settle, how can you? And it's a vicious cycle. You are doing it because your parents did it. The parents are doing it because their parents did it. They did it because उनके parents ने कहा. So this is going on forever. It's not even, so to speak, your parents' fault, because they're also part of the same social conditioning that they are giving you. उनको conditioning मिलती when they were young. Today you are getting the same conditioning. But that's why it needs to be fought. Why is it so difficult for men to express themselves? Because they genuinely believe that their only worth in life is numbers. It's this value. It's like अगर मेरा CT से अच्छा नहीं आया, I'm a failure. अगर मेरे marks नहीं आए college के अंदर, I'm a failure. If I'm not getting trophies, then I'm a failure. Because and what is your, even when you go home and you know the first question your parents are asking you कितने marks आए? Why? Because they want to compare with all the other marks of all the other boys in the society. कि उसके marks ज़्यादा हैं, इसके marks ज़्यादा हैं, मेरे इस friend के, तुम्हारे इस cousin के, everything comes around. CT से अच्छा हुआ तब जाके खुश हो जाएंगे, चलो CT से अच्छा मिल गया इसको इंसान life के अंदर. So these are the, when that is your worth, you actually don't think of anything outside of that as something worth expressing. You know, why would you talk about things like feeling and emotion when you know that the most important thing in your life is you have to be a workhouse and you have to just go and get money, because that's how you become an अच्छा लड़का and that's how you get a girl. And in the similar way, girls are told कि जो ना तुम्हें तो जिंदगी में शादी करनी है, तुम्हें तो बच्चे संभालने हैं. The boy has to be the hunter, the girl has to be the gatherer. The boy has to run the home, earn for the home. The girl has to run the home. सबको ऐसे jobs दिए गए हैं ना, तो लड़कियां भी anytime girls express, they're saying you are girls, you can't express. And anytime boys express, they say that तुम लड़की हो गया. You know, because apparently only girls are allowed to express and boys are not allowed to express. So this patriarchy is oppressive to everybody. It is oppressive to everybody. It's just that unfortunately we don't even know how to talk about masculinity. The only way we talk about masculinity in the world today is by associating the word toxic with it, which is true. It is, you know, the only version of masculinity that typically exists in our society is toxic. But we need to find a more positive version of masculinity. We need to start talking about what we are going through. We need to start expressing what you're going through. I started speaking about mental health because I went through clinical anxiety. I didn't go through, I need to point this out really importantly. People think that mental health issues happen when you are doing bad in life. You know, कि तुम्हारी जिंदगी में कोई अच्छा नहीं चल रहा, तुम फेल हो गए, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, तब तुम्हें mental health issues होते हैं. I was at the top of my career at Yash Raj Films. I had made, you know, so in 2015-16, the first 5-6 web series that were made in India, उसमें से 4 मेरी थी. You know, the ever made in India. Forget like Netflix, Amazon से पहले. There's Bang Baja Barat, Ladies Zoom, Pabu Baba, Man's World. सारे मैंने बनाए. And I was 29 or 30, 29 at that time, I think. So at 30, Yash Raj had given me a massive raise. I had become GM at Yash Raj. I was an outsider. I don't live in Bombay. I don't have like godfathers. I'm not from the industry. I got a cabin in Yash Raj. I got a massive hike. I got a massive like promotion. I was at the top of my career. I was at the peak of my career. And I got clinical anxiety at that point, at 30-31. Why? Because मेरी जिंदगी में भी जो ना as a young boy, I was given a checklist. And सारे लड़कों को मिलती है, सारे सबको मिलता है checklist कि ना तुम्हें ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, ये CT से लाना है, ये designation लाना है, यहाँ पर पहुँचना है, फिर घर खरीदना है, फिर गाड़ी खरीदनी है, फिर शादी करनी है, फिर बच्चे करने वगैरह वगैरह. At 30, I had ticked off most of the checklist. And then I started getting anxiety because once I ticked off most of it, I was like, अब मैं क्या करूँ life में? ये तो मैंने कर दिया. I was told कि तुम्हें designation अच्छी होनी चाहिए, मिल गई. गाड़ी होनी चाहिए, खरीद ली. घर होना चाहिए, मिल गया, सब तो मिल गया, शादी होनी चाहिए, जल्दी कर ली, सब हो गया. What is left now? And that was the thing that started eating me. If you have finished or you have lived the version of the story that is told to you by your parents, or that is told to you by society, if you have completed that, where do you go then? And then I was clueless. I was at the top of my career and I was just like, अब तो मुझे पता नहीं मुझे क्या करना है इसके बाद, because I've done it. Now where do I go after 30? Do I do more of this? Is that all there is to life? I will get another designation. I'll get more money. I'll buy one more house. I'll buy one more car. And that's what everybody is doing also, देखा जाए तो. और क्या करते हैं सब लोग, एक बार सब कुछ मिल जाता है, फिर और मिलता है उसका, फिर उसका और मिलता है. But I was just like, is this all there is to life? There must be something more than that. And that started eating me. And it became so bad that I was crippled with anxiety. I started taking therapy twice a week. It was so bad for me. I quit Yash Raj at the peak of my career, you know, at a place where I was literally like, without being like overdoing it, but I was genuinely a star in that system. And I just quit at the top, you know, and for 6 months I didn't do anything. I just left every single thing. मैं तो बॉम्बे छोड़ के चला गया था, नंबर चेंज कर दिया था मैंने कि मुझे किसी से बात ही नहीं करनी है, because I needed to figure out for the first time in my life, who am I outside of the story given to me? Who am I outside of the checklist given to me? Who am I as a man? Who am I as a human being? हमारी कंट्री में ना, and again in the world I feel like, you know, young boys are taught to be men before they're taught to be human beings. तुम्हें आदमी कैसे बनना है बता देंगे तुम्हें, इंसान कैसे पता है वो कोई नहीं समझाता. And at 30 I started realizing I need to find out who I am as a human being. As a man I know who I am now. I don't know who I am as a human being. And it took me so much time over the last 5 years, you know, to kind of figure out this for myself. You know, and that's when I started, after 6 months of going through therapy, and therapy is amazing. If anybody has any doubts, it's the best thing in this world. I put out a post, you know, where I just expressed myself for the first time. This is that my pictures look amazing. I know everyone thinks that I'm having the greatest life, and I was. My pictures, my Instagram was lit. It was always like stars ke saath photo, awards jeet raha hu, ye ho raha, wo raha hai. So then I was in the position where I felt I was okay. I put out a post and told the world that actually I've had the worst year of my life for the last 1.5 years, crippling anxiety. I've been diagnosed with clinical anxiety. Here's what anxiety is. Here's what I've been going through. Here's how I've been feeling. If this helps someone else, great. You know, I just wanted to express myself. And that post went like massively viral, because like everybody started talking about it. Like, okay, some man has spoken about mental health. And from that time, I realized the power of being vulnerable as a man, the power of being vulnerable as a human being. That led in many ways to what I'm doing with Yuva right now. That led me to where I am today, talking about these things. But it's so much unlearning that has happened over the last few years. So, I mean, sorry it took me so much time to give you this answer, but I wanted to give set context. It's not very easy when you say why, you know, Indian men are not expressing, why we don't talk about mental health. There's so many systems of oppression, systems of patriarchy put into place, that we are today leading the lives that, you know, we have been asked to lead, you know. And it's your generation that, thanks to the internet, thanks to, you know, social media, expressing and fighting it, you know. And some people, many people are, not everybody can, you know, but I hope that, you know, you all also start doing that in some way. Fight doesn't mean like, you know, going and shouting back at your parents. It just means like recognizing, acknowledging, confronting, and working on it, you know, unlearning. Yeah, sorry, this is a very long answer for the first question.
Yeah, Nikhil, actually it's very right. Also, the life has become so fast-paced that you really don't have time to, you know, to take a pause and figure out, मैं कहाँ हूँ, you know, what am I doing? But when you were talking, you mentioned masculinity and toxic masculinity. Before we go on to the next one, could you kind of talk about, you know, if just simplify it a little, because nobody really thinks of the term masculinity. हम feminism की बात करते हैं, जो भी एक अलग term है, but if you can थोड़ा सा talk a little about masculinity.
The thing is that because we've internalized so much of what men are supposed to be, as I said, about what young boys, there's this very nice quote that I love, okay, that it says that patriarchy benefits men, but oppresses everybody. And that is the thing that we don't talk about. That it oppresses the young boys who could have been, who could have been more than just being men. Because the traditional idea of a man, when you think about a traditional idea of a man, क्या होता है आदमी? It comes from what you might have seen your father being, might have come from what you might have seen your grandfather being, and 80%, 90% is the same. Who can tell me, like, what is your traditional idea of a man, an Indian man? क्या होता है? What's a man? What's a man supposed to be in society? Sorry? Someone who never who cries, absolutely, doesn't cry. Men don't cry for some reason. Always strong. I love how women are answering this question, okay? What about the guys? What are men supposed to be? Don't cry, always be strong. ये देखा याद बचपन में जो ना कभी गिर जाते हो और रोने लग जाते हो, फर्स्ट थिंग योर पेरेंट थे कि तू तो आदमी है, तू लड़का है, तू कैसे रो सकता है? You can't cry. And then you start internalizing that, oh my God, if I get hurt, I can't cry. First thing where you're not allowed to express. Crying is great for health. It really releases so much toxins in your body. Women get to cry, men don't get to cry. And उनका भी अलग है, women को भी बोला जाता है कि तुम कितना रोते हो. So it's everywhere. But men तो are told कि you anytime you get hurt, you can't do it. Anytime. I'll make it more relatable. जब किसी कोई breakup होता है, लड़की छोड़ के चल जाती है ना, सबसे पहले तो दोस्तों के साथ जाते हो. The first thing, well, रो मत यार, you are more than that. Be strong, be a man. That's the first thing your friends are telling you. Why? That's what else? What else is supposed to be a man? Strong, doesn't cry. और क्या होता है? Technical skills or creative. I love how it's just super. It's coming from it's not coming, and nobody is a man I can see who's speaking about this. बताओ, लड़को. I can see that. Sorry? Provide for the family, absolutely. That's what a man is supposed to do. That's also a burden, like you think that it's when you are conditioned to believe that your job. I'll tell you what has happened, I keep digressing, okay? मेरे को बहुत सारे thoughts आते हैं तो मैं digress बीच में करता रहूँगा. What has happened over the last few years, and that's also one of the reasons toxic, when you talk about toxicity. Where is this toxicity coming from? First of all, it was always there. It's not like it's a new thing. It was always there. Most of our, and let's be honest, most of our fathers, grandfathers were alcoholics. If not, they were, beating up children. If not, they're beating up their wives. Most of us. Or if not, they were just quiet. They wouldn't talk. This is how many healthy fathers do we know of who have spent time with their sons or daughters or families, who have gone out, enjoyed life. My father has not had a break in like 30 years of working. He once, left a job, and before he got another job, the 2 months that he had, I have seen him as a wreck. He just didn't know what to do with his life because he didn't have a job. वही होता, एक बार जॉब मिल गया वही है जिंदगी. I was pretty much raised by my mother. Why? Because my father was never around. He was always, his thing was मुझे काम करना है, पैसे कमाने, and he'd make the money. My mother was raising us. I never got to hang with my father. And every father has been angry in many ways. So it's either anger, it is either alcohol, it is either quietness. This is what we have seen. This toxicity has come from the fact that the burden of, making sure that you have a family. And that burden came from the fact because women were told that you can't work. तुम्हें तो घर पे काम करना है. So you see how genders norms have made sure that where women could have contributed, उनको बोला कि इतनी तुम काम करो, तो उन पे भी burden है कि उनको सिर्फ बच्चों को संभालना है. They don't get time to, they don't have a partner, they don't have anybody who's taking care of their emotional well-being. On the same time, the husband also doesn't have a partner because he's constantly, going out and earning money and isn't getting any time for self-care, any time to spend with their own children. How many of our dads got to spend time with us? Yeah, it's just so tragic when I think about it. They don't know us. Even today, like hugging my father is like this big, oh my God, my father is hugging me, is like, there's something. My father the other day asked me, like, I said, said on the phone, I love you. I said, what happened? I said, "Aisa kya ho gaya?" I got scared. Is there something happening with you? Are you okay? Is your health fine? Because he never says that, you know. Like, when a dad says, I love you, it's like, shit, are you okay? You know, so this is how our fathers have been, you know, so the toxicity has always been there. Now, what has happened is, thankfully, and again, for a certain section of, you know, urban young women, or people who identify as women, for a certain section of, you know, feminism has helped them recognize that they're, you know, that in society they have an equal status. So they're going out and working, they're going out and earning money. लड़कियों को ये सब पता चल गया, they have now started speaking with each other, started supporting each other, girl boss, girl tribe, etc. etc. लड़कों को किसने नोटिस ही नहीं दिया कि लड़कियां काम कर रही हो, तुम भी अब काम कर सकते हो. If लड़कियां are doing now their work, you don't have to now hustle. You don't have to work till 24 hours. किसके लिए कर रहे हो तुम? अब नहीं चलनी तुम्हें पूरी फैमिली अकेले, वो है साथ में सब चलाने के लिए. बट लड़कों को ये नोटिस नहीं दिया बिकॉज कोई मूवमेंट ही नहीं है. There is nobody sitting and telling, here's another movement, positive movement for boys, where you can now come and support each other and say, तुम नहीं काम कर रहे हो, great. Today, as an example, just in the morning, you know, the editor-in-chief at Yuva was a guy, a really, really fantastic person. He's just messaged in the morning, I have a stomach bug, you know, I'll just let you guys know in a couple of hours, you know, if I can come or not. I said, take a day off. Why do you need to come if you have a stomach bug? Then it's okay, if I feel better, I'll come. I was like, I literally have to tell the men in my team, it's okay to rest. You can take a day off. कुछ नहीं, नई कंपनी बंद होने वाली है अगर तुम एक दिन ऑफ ले लिया तो. बट वो थिंकिंग ही नहीं है. बिकॉज द कंडीशनिंग इज दैट मेन हैव टू कॉन्स्टेंटली हसल, कॉन्स्टेंटली वर्क. अब लड़कियां काम करने लगी, नहीं करना तुम्हें इतना काम. Now they have found feminism, you also find something positive. You also give time to yourself. You also spend time with her. Spend time with your children. Spend time with, you know, yourself. Find time to, ever since I've started therapy, I've also started going to spas. So I have also gone, मैं कहा अब मुझे जो ना चाहिए, मुझे महीने में एक बारी मैं जाता हूँ, पूरी अपनी बॉडी को मसाज कराता हूँ. क्यों? क्योंकि I care about myself now. I just didn't earlier. My thought was that my only thing that I was allowed to do in society was to earn money. The only worth that I had in society was dependent on what is my designation, what is the money that I'm making, what is my bank account look like. That was my only worth. But I am more than that. I know that now. I need time off for myself. I took I would never, I had this thing where on my birthdays, I'd be like, working birthdays bahut achhe hote hain. You know, I should always, for the last 5 years now, I've just been taking 10 days off for the work. I was like, मैं अपनी पूरी कंपनी को बोलता, कंपनी shutdown भी होगी, मुझे तंग मत करना. मुझे, I need time for myself. I need to go and rest and relax. Weekends I don't work. Yuva's culture is now, I've made sure, you know, weekends go, because if the boss is working, everyone feels obliged to work. 7:30 बजे तक मैं निकल जाता हूँ ऑफिस. मैं तो जा रहा हूँ, तुमको रहना दो, मैं तो नहीं आने वाला. And I encourage them also, you also leave. Why are you here? What do you feel that you will achieve from 7:30 onwards that you have not been able to achieve from 10 o'clock in the morning? कुछ नहीं होता ये. This is all, and this is the toxic understanding that we have been conditioned with. So it's always been there. It's been there in our fathers, it's been there in our grandfathers, social conditioning. But today, because we are not allowed to express, because young men are told you can't cry, you have to be strong, you can't express. अगर तुमने कोई ऐसा कोई vulnerable post लिख गया, तुम्हारे खुद के दोस्त बोलते हैं अरे तू लड़की है क्या? Or they call you even worse slurs. You know, why is it like, you know, and first of all, if a girl is expressing, that's a great thing. You know, girls are, it's amazing that they're getting to do that. And there is nothing wrong, you know, it's not weak, it's a sign of, I have realized in my life, vulnerability is the sign of strength. There is nothing weak in vulnerability. The icons you have in your life, the autobiographies you read, the best part of the story is कि कहाँ से वो गिरते हैं फिर कैसे बढ़ते हैं. That vulnerable part is what you care about. You don't have heroes who are only like, your hero is not somebody who's always been rich and now is richer now. That's never a hero. The hero is always the person who goes from the bottom to the top. And that bottom is the thing that you feel connected to. Ki, okay, I'm also here, maybe I can also get there. So when you're reading your icons and you're learning about them and seeing that their vulnerability has helped them build on their strength, why can't you do the same? So it's the toxicity. So masculinity, unfortunately, there is so much conditioning to what masculinity is supposed to represent, what an Indian man is supposed to be, that it's only toxic. there is very little about it that is positive. बहुत ही कम होता है. तुमने पैसे कमा लिए तो ठीक है ना, उसके बाद and if you burnt out by earning that money, what is the point? If you have made all that money but not got to spend time with your partner, you know, what is the point? If you have made all that money and not got time to spend with your children, what is the point? What is the point of this? If my dad is not able to hug me, you know, I love you, तो मुझे अजीब लगता है. How is that okay? You know, so that's unfortunately the thing, that there is right now no two definitions. It's only one definition, and that definition unfortunately is toxic. But हम लोग बोलते हैं toxic masculinity, सब लोग, you know, बुरा मान जाते हैं. But it's not like it's a judgment on you. It's not a judgment on men that masculinity is toxic. It's social conditioning, it's patriarchy, it's unfortunately the truth. And we need to fight it. We need to fight that. But for that, we need to first accept it. Ki haan hai toxic. I am supposed to work a certain number of hours. Why? I'm supposed to hustle and get this much of money. Why? If I want to spend some time just for myself, doing a hobby that I have, why does that need to be productive? Every Sunday, you know, even today, I talk about all these things. Sunday ko na, if I have nothing to do na, I start getting anxiety. Inbuilt. कुछ है नहीं करने को. So I speak to my wife कि मुझे समझ नहीं क्या करूँ. I'm aimless today. And she's just like, so you sleep a little bit more. It's like, but that's not productive. But why do we need to be productive on Sundays? It's so conditioned, yaar. It's so conditioned. So it is, there is कोई है नहीं clear, you know, and we now need to create a positive definition, you know, of masculinity. We need to find, and that has to be that it's okay to be a human being. Be a man, but be a human being first. And if you are able to do that, you will be able to be a great man also. A good man is going to be a good human being. Every good woman is going to good trans person. Everybody ultimately, whoever, if any gender, if you are a good human being, there's nothing more to it. उतना ही होता है.
You spoke about vulnerability. Vulnerability, we know that, you know, normally women are called vulnerable. बहुत vulnerable है, बहुत innocent है. But vulnerability is very different for different genders. And I'm saying genders because it's many. It's, even I think till date, it's not easy to say he is vulnerable. You've had your own journey which you shared right now. So there are many questions here. Was it difficult? Was it a transition first? If there was a transition, was it difficult to break away from that vulnerability or be vulnerable rather? And how do we work towards it? So if we want to, like women have support groups, how do you encourage men to, you know, to do so as individuals?
Also, we only know narratives surrounding toxic masculinity. ये है, वो है, समझता नहीं है, फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसको, whatever. So, what is like the positive side? You know, what are the good qualities of masculinity that I don't know. So, because on internet, even on feminist pages, that is the only narrative. You know, we say toxic masculinity या फिर vulnerability. But what exactly is that? Vulnerable.
So first, I just want to say one, before I get into this answer, I just want to say, because you've said like on all feminist pages, this is the only thing. Let me just, this is not controversial, but I really need to tell you and you all need to hear it. When women say, or a feminist page says all men are trash, it's not about you. It's about their experiences with men. And unfortunately, every woman in our country, every single woman in our country has faced harassment on the hands of men. So many men in our country have faced harassment in the hands of men. Sorry, this is going to be a trigger. When I was a child, I was molested by a man. It's unfortunate. I couldn't speak about it. I didn't know who to speak about it because I was a man. And I can tell you there are at least a few people over here who have also gone through the same. Men over here have gone through the same. Even men are assaulted by men. And women also assaulted by men. So when women are saying something about men, it's not a judgment on you. It's not a judgment on you as an individual. Your gender doesn't define you. Don't hold your gender as like the only thing about you. You are more than your gender. You are more than just a man. You are so much more than that. So anytime anybody says this, it's not meant to be triggered. Just the empathy that we need to have as human beings, we need to understand it's coming from their experiences. They don't mean it as like, you know, screw you. everybody who's who are here on this page is a terrible person. That's not what it is meant. It means in their experiences, unfortunately, they've just gone to terrible experiences. I have, and again, it's not to say that I have only met like, I only had the best positive experiences with women. I also have had tough experiences with women sometimes. But at the same time, I can admit to myself that when I was younger, I've also had, I've also been stupid with women. It's okay. It's okay. Let's not try and bracket feminism as this anti-male narrative. That's the worst thing that we can do. Because it is genuine. If anything, men need to learn from feminism and figure out how do we create these support groups. The only alternate version to feminism is men's right movement, which is supposed to be anti-women. तुम पहले for men तो कुछ शुरू करो ना, anti-women क्यों पहले शुरू कर दिया? Start something that is only about positive masculinity versus starting about anti-feminism. Feminism is not the enemy. The enemy is patriarchy, because of which feminism has been formed, which is about equality for everybody, all genders. But हम लोगों ने ऐसा narrative डाल दिया कि जहाँ पर ना हमको वही pages में and I will also say yes, there are sometimes many young women also who have been conditioned right now to get very angry anytime a man says something. But try and understand where that is coming from. Centuries of oppression, yaar. Centuries. I don't know a single woman in my life who has not been harassed. Not one woman. Not one person. When I can go out at any point in the night, anywhere in this country, I can roam around without having to worry about my safety. A woman cannot do that. Let's understand the difference in what we are going through. Men go through a lot, there is no doubt, and we need to start talking about it. But women have been screaming because they've been oppressed 100 times more. Men also benefit from it. जो पैसे मिलते हैं हमको ज़्यादा, हमें को मिलते ज़्यादा. That gender pay gap thing is it's an actual thing. As a hiring manager now, I run a company. The CVs that come to me, I see men and I see women who are applying. People of all genders apply. Whenever I see the difference, anybody who identifies as a woman at the same level is always earning lesser than the man who's applied at the same level. It's just how it is. It is just how it is. And now we as a company have decided that we will offer money that is about the position and not about about what they were making. Because if that we don't know, like the very talented person in my team was a young woman who's joined a few years ago. She had come from such a small salary that initially we had given her and now she's leading things at UA. Last year, the appraisal ke andar, I said, we are not going to do 20, 30, 40%. Screw that. This is what you deserve. You are leading this team for the last 3 years. I'm going to give you this. I had a team, there was one other investor, my co-founder, I spoke to him. I said, this is the money that I want to offer because she deserves it. It's nothing to do with like, why am I paying the man who's also doing the same amount of work, the same amount and not her? And so we are benefiting from it also. There is so much benefit that you're getting in society. And we need to acknowledge that. There's this fantastic book called Invisible Women, I think it's called. Fantastic book that talks about how every space that we occupy in this country has been architecture. Your architecture college, I'm sure I don't know if you have it in your course or not. Every space has been built and with men in mind. Every single space. Why is it that in the loose, you have equal space given to men loose and female loose. When you are designing it, space utni dete hain. Except that men have urinals. So you have 5 urinals wahan mil jate hain, so 5 men can go at the same time. But because women have seated toilets, you can only have 3. So at any place, and this is how architecture works. So sad, right? Anytime you go to a club, the female line is always longer than the male line. The queue is longer. Why is the queue longer? Not because, women need to pee more, because there's not enough space for women to pee. Because men have urinals and it's easier for them. The 5 can fit in one time, quickly get and done, whereas only 3 can fit in that space. This is architecture. Every space is built to benefit men. Everything that is happening in the world around us has been built by men for men. Every single space. It has been so difficult for me to find, and we have tried very hard to find, people in leadership positions for certain things in our company who are women, because hote hi nahi hai, koi unko chance hi nahi deta, opportunity nahi deta. So we've had to now get younger folks and groom them and make them leaders and say, chalo theek hai, now you are going to lead, because hai hi nahi is space ke andar. I've reached out for resumes everywhere, koi to mile. It's so tough. It's so tough. So I just want to say that, there is this narrative we should really, I am a very strong proponent of empathy, very strong proponent of kindness to everybody. If you're a kind human being, if you're an empathetic human being, you should not buy into these narratives. These narratives are done to polarize. They're done with with it's very unfortunate. It's all done with agendas in mind. Nobody over here who's running these anti-XYZ movement is doing it to benefit you. You are not going to benefit from any anti-movement. What you will benefit for is a movement for you. That is going to be positive for you. And if you don't have one, start one. Start one. Why is it that, why can't men get together in groups and just genuinely, without judgment, have a space where they can talk about their feelings? How difficult. I went on a roadshow across the country, okay? So 2019-20, I traveled, we did something called the Yuva Roadshow of Kindness. I traveled to 35 cities. I traveled to about 110 colleges, IITs, IIMs, AIMS, NITs, NIFTs, you name it. I met 10,000 young people over 6 months. On the road, I was constantly. I would go and speak with students, and then I would spend like time listening to them across the country, 35 cities in India. The number, can you guess the number one thing that women said that they go through? When you give women a safe space, when you say ki, this is a safe space, I just want to hear what you have to say. What is the number one thing women across the country, 35 cities, talk about when given a safe space? If nobody has given you the respect of hearing you out, we want to hear you out, what do you have to say? What is the number one thing? What is the number one thing you think women say? Sexual harassment, absolutely. Number one thing. 35, and in a class of 150 students with teachers, girls are coming up on stage and saying, my story is about harassment. And this happened across the country. Can you guess what is the number one thing men have said? You won't be able to believe it, but it'll make such a big impact when I tell you. What is the number one thing men have said? Obviously, in the college one college I go to, you don't realize, but I know the pattern now across the colleges. What is the number one thing men say? When you're given a safe space, what is the number one theme they talk about?
Bullying.
Sorry? Can't hear you, sorry. Shared problems. Their problems. There is one specific problem they talk about. What is it? Close
friendships.
Friendships.
Breakups or something? No.
The number one thing men in this country, young men in this country, 35 cities I've gone to, 10,000 young people, out of which 70% were men. The number one thing men in this country talked about when given a safe space was loneliness. How lonely I am. The number one thing across colleges. This is after men have like 6, 7 ladkon ka group. Every man given a safe space comes and says, I'm lonely. I don't have anybody to talk to. Every man. It is mind-boggling for me that this is what's happening in the country. You know what broke my heart? In multiple cities, there were young boys who would come to me, and after the talk that I would do, after my safe space conversations, and they'd just be like, I have a request. You know what the request was? From boys, what could be a request that they'd come to me and ask?
Don't tell anyone or no?
There are multiple boys in different parts of the country who have come to me and said, can I have a hug? That's it. And when I ask, I say, of course, and I give a hug. And then I ask, why did you ask for this? Like, because I haven't got one. I don't get a hug. My parents don't give me a hug. No one actually holds me. I don't know who to talk to. I am lonely. This is across the country. इतना loneliness है, but हमको because men are told and conditioned to not express, to be strong, to not cry, we don't talk about it. You give a safe space to a boy and this is what he'll talk about. And if this is the issue, instead of spending your time in anti-something narrative, find positive places where you are feeling less alone, where you are supporting each other. I'll tell you, this beautiful thing happened, after one of the talks that I did, and I'm like really proud of this. It's a small story, I'll tell you. So there's a college in Chennai that I had gone to, you know, and उस मतलब कुछ होता है ना college में जाके ना ऐसे sync हो जाता है, you know. I was reached there in Chennai at 7 p.m. We were there till 2 a.m. For 5 hours, more than 6-7 hours. I was just everybody. There was a class of 110 students. 110 people spoke that day. Everybody spoke. It was insane. It was like most beautiful night. Everybody sitting around, talking, feeling, expressing. Everything was beautiful. It was beautiful. That class ke baad, you know, obviously I left and, you know, I came back 1 year later. And one of the students came to me and like said, I need to talk to you separately. And I said, I just want to thank you for what happened in that class because it changed my life in a very specific way. I said, what happened? So unfortunately, after that class, one of the people who was part of that class, you know, drowned in a river somewhere near that college. And that boy was from Maharashtra and was a Marathi-speaking young boy. And everybody who was from Maharashtra, they kind of created a group of people from Maharashtra. They were going through massive depression. Everyone's feeling extremely sad, etc., etc. But nothing was coming out of it. Now, all these kids were from all different classes. The boy who attended this session, he said, I was going up to individual people and saying, it's okay to talk. You don't have to express. Kisi ne kuch nahi kiya. So then he did this beautiful thing, which I was like so amazing. He's like, I started a club. I called it Marathi Mitra Mandal. And every night I said, ये club meeting करेगा. And club के नाम पर ना सारे लड़के आए और हमने बोला अभी ये मीटिंग है मित्रों की और हम लोग जो है ना मित्र हैं तो आप कुछ भी बोल सकते हैं. And he's like, first night there was a little bit of self doubt. Second night तक एक इंसान ने बोल दिया था. Third night दारू निकल आई थी. Everybody started speaking. And he's like, after that it became every night. It was so beautiful. We met for almost a month every single night. There were boys who cried, who spoke about what they were going through, missing their friend, etc., etc. But just the fact that there's this one beautiful thought that came that, you know, कि लड़के ऐसे express नहीं कर रहे, शायद एक club बना देते हैं, उससे express कर लेंगे. And then everybody started feeling better. He's like, now I think all of us, you know, are feeling in such a better space that all of us were depressed after that. And this is what is possible. If he can do it, so can you. If you are not able to express among your friends, start a club. Call it something and say, this is an expression club and all of us are going to now sit and express. But listen without judgment. हम लोग अभी भी लड़के जब express करते हैं, you know, it is always it's so difficult to express. Why is it so difficult to express? What are we afraid of? Tell me. Why is it so difficult? Yes. एक ही लड़का जो बार बार हाथ उठा के बोल रहा है. What's your name? Ruchir, thank you for, you know, being like the person who's constantly, can we have a round of applause for him? Constantly answering, responding to everything. So nice to meet you. Tell me. That's a very sensitive thing to say. That's beautiful. But I feel like that there is another fear before you. वो तो है ही, but like fear क्या है? What is the big fear? जोक बना देंगे. What is the larger fear? क्या डर लगता है कि हम लोग बोलेंगे तो क्या होगा? See, who said it? Judged. The first thing that everybody is afraid of is that कि I'll be judged. This judgment has become like this कि कोई जूरी बैठकर बोलेगा ये खराब इंसान है. Judged. Biggest word, biggest fear I think every young person has कि कुछ बोलेंगे ना judge होंगे. How do we know that we'll be judged? Now tell me that. Now, this is googly that I'm throwing. No. How do we know that अगर हम कुछ कहेंगे we will be judged? Because we are judging. That is why we know that we'll be judged. Because हम भी judge करते हैं. The problem in the world is we think that there is no one to like, you know, talk to. But the bigger problem in the world is that no one who listens. सुनने वाला ही नहीं कोई. क्यों नहीं सुनने वाले? Because आप नहीं सुनते. The answer to expressing is not to speak first. The answer to expression is to listen first. Go to a friend and tell, I want to hear what you're going through. And I can promise you at the end of it, the person will be like, Acha, now you tell me. I have expressed myself, I'm feeling good, I want to hear you now. Every conversation, कॉन्वर्सेशंस बॉन्डिंग इसी पे होती है, पहले तुम किसी को सुनते हो फिर वो तुम्हें सुनते हैं. बट अगर तुम बोलना चाहते हो ना फिर तुम्हें नहीं मिलेगा, बिकॉज एवरीबडी वांट्स टू स्पीक बट नोबडी वांट्स टू लिसन. Everyone has something to say, but there's no one to listen. And we need to be listeners. Before we express, we need to be the people who are not judging ourselves. If we create empathetic spaces, if we don't judge, no one will judge us. So to answer the question that you very specifically asked, it was very difficult for me to be vulnerable, because unfortunately the society is full of people who judge. And it is a very, in fact, in my own company, when I was starting as an entrepreneur, I want to create an idea of empathetic leadership. That's not something people are used to. So if I'm coming and saying, today we had a hard day, etc. I've had people leave because they were just like, this person is like always talking about the tough times, but it is okay to talk about it. And it's very difficult when people think that if this person is talking about emotion, this person is incapable of anything else. But that's not true. People can be emotional and they can be great at what they do. They can be vulnerable and they can be creative. But वो लोगों को समझ ही नहीं आता कैसे हो सकता है कि how can somebody who is good at business also be empathetic. That's just not something that is understood. So it's taken me a lot of time to get, the first 1.5 years was very difficult for me to start a company where we are talking about empathy. कि people were just like कि ये कैसे चलेगा, पैसे कैसे कमाओगे, तुम्हें business sense नहीं है, तुम नॉन प्रॉफिट जैसा, you smell like a non profit. Today I mean, it's so, we are a company right now, 22 people, etc., etc. We're completely profitable. We work with we are working with everybody from Meta, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Google, IBM, Fast Track, Tinder, all the top companies in the world, and the top non-profits in the world. UNICEF, UN Women, Save the Children, Dasra, Purpose, all of these. And we have done it by being empathetic, by not overworking. Everybody leaves office at 7:30, by having weekends off, by taking care of each other, because we have created support systems in our team. When somebody is not well and takes a day off, somebody covers for them, because that's the team we have created. So, and nobody has to overwork. Everybody is doing a good job, is getting well paid, and we have made a success out of this company. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that when I started, everyone was like कि तुम social impact पे कम नहीं करोगे, ये तो कभी पैसे कमा ही नहीं सकती. And I wanted to make a for profit, because I wanted to prove a point कि you can make a business of doing good things and still make money out of it. You can make a business of doing good things and still have it be a success where everybody is having a good life. It was very difficult in the first 2 years, no doubt about it, but persevered. All of us, a big credit to the team that fantastic team I have. I'm so fortunate and grateful to have all of them, and we are here today. So it is difficult, and it's difficult because life is difficult. It is difficult because society is difficult. Everything is hard. Nothing is easy. अगर तुम्हें लगता है तुम engineering करोगे फिर MBA करोगे, you'll settle down. That's also not going to be easy. वो भी hard ही होगा. To be able to live to the checklist, that's also not going to be easy. Checklist कराने में बहुत लोग fail होते हैं. We always talk about success. Nobody is talking about failure. Failure is more common than success. सक्सेस तो कुछ लोग होते हैं जो आप देखते हो. रेस्ट ऑफ इट इज सो टू स्पीक, एंड दिस आइडिया ऑफ फेलियर कि अच्छा वो नहीं कर पाया तो फेलियर है. देयर इज नो सच थिंग. देयर इज नो सच थिंग. एवरीबडी फेल्स एंड इट्स ओके, एंड इट्स कंप्लीटली ओके. एवरीथिंग इज हार्ड. देयर इज नथिंग दैट इज ईजी. यू चूज योर पाथ, इट इज गोइंग टू बी टफ. यू चूज द पेरेंट्स पाथ, इट विल बी टफ. व्हाट इज द हार्ड यू वांट टू चूज? What is the hard you want to choose? I chose vulnerability. I said, I know that if being vulnerable is also going to be hard, being an asshole is also going to be hard. I don't want to be an asshole. I want to be vulnerable. 2 साल मुझे लगा fight. Today, I'm saying this today night, getting an award for Digital Entrepreneur of the Year. at a award show. And I'm just shocked, because it's like a creative where all the agencies and all the creative teams have applied, and I won it, and I'm just this makes very little sense to me, but it also is. I'm so happy and proud of that, that we've been able to create a company and a ecosystem and a example of what is possible if you are, if you have empathy and kindness as your tenets. So ऐसा नहीं है. Everything is hard. Every single thing is hard. You have to choose your heart. And sometimes choosing the heart that works for you is going to be better, because when it's not working out, at least you don't have anybody else to blame. When you do something society has asked you to do, when you do something your parents have asked you to do, when you fail, you constantly resentment पूरी जिंदगी रहेगी. इनकी वजह से मैं यहाँ पहुँचा हूँ, इसकी वजह से मैंने ये किया. अपनी वजह से fail भी होते ना, you can at least you know that you have done it while trying to do something for yourself, and that's beautiful. Fail for you, don't fail for others.
Um, so we were not now talking about creating circles and friendships and um, but when we look at the dynamic between a parent and a child, uh, most of our judgments and most of the things that we fear start at home. I don't recall this. There was this snippet from a series. I don't recall the name, but where a guy is talking to his parents, and the thing that he's saying that जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते हैं, mature होते हैं, वैसे parents को भी mature होना चाहिए. You cannot go on having the same conversation every day.
Ghar Wapsi. It's a beautiful series. Please watch it. Beautiful. It's on Hotstar. Ghar Wapsi.
कि खाना खाया, सुबह उठे, ये कैसा था, वो कैसा था. But like at the end of the day, there is no meaning behind it. We are not having deeper conversations. When not just about a man, but when I want to talk about things that are bothering me, vulnerable things, important things, I don't think that my parents have the emotional capacity to even understand this, so I avoid it. But if I know that my father or my mother is going to be conservative, but there has to be a dialogue, or maybe I have to be open to understand that I will have to talk about things that will make them understand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. It's it's very unfortunate, but कोई हमको तो कोई young लोगों को तो लोग अब you go to schools and colleges and you get an education. Now how good or not that education system पे commentary is a whole different thing. I'm not going to get into that, but at least there's some place you go to learn. Who teaches parents about parenting? Where is the school for parenting? Ruchir again. That's not a rhetorical question, but bolo. Correct. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah. It is the school, there is no school. You learn from your parents, you learn from other parents, and because they were toxic to you. It's unfortunate, but you're also going to be toxic. See, the world has changed since then. When maybe the first time parents were, and I'm talking about really old times, they were protecting their children because if you talk about cave people, parents would protect their children because they'd get eaten by lions and tigers. That was the reason kitna protective they. The world has changed since then. Sharks are there outside. Maybe not lions and tigers. But even so, so much of the conditioning has come from so many years ago, we don't question it anymore. And that's the biggest problem. We don't question things in our country. It is very, 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 I think the big tragedy is that we are not a country and a world that questions, that says that, why should I do this? And you don't have questioning doesn't mean being rebel. Questioning is about curiosity also. It is about just finding out beyond what is being said to me, is there something more? I want to know deeper. We just accept what is the way that things work. World एक तरीके से काम करता है, okay. Now मुझे वही करना है. Question करो ना, किसने कहा world ऐसे काम करता है? Who said? Just because your parents have said, yes, somebody has. Yeah. They don't understand what we're going through. Absolutely. I will also flip it. We also don't understand what they're going through. Let's be very honest. It took me a very long time in my life before I could see my mother as a human being. For me, she was my mother. She is my ma. After very long in my life, was I able to speak to her and ask her, tell me about your life before me. I didn't even think that she could have a life before me. That was not even something like, very recently I have been, for a very long time in my life, I have wanted, my parents would live in Bombay, they live in Bahrain. So I've been living away from home for a while now. So I've been like, now they're getting older, I really want to bring them, so I've been like telling them, come and be with me, come and be with me, come and be with me, and they are like, but they're always like, कि 3 months I'll come and whatnot, etc., etc. And I was always like, is it because, I don't know, are they thinking they're going to be a burden? What is it? Why is it that, they're not able to shift? And it's only after so long that I'm just like able to recognize कि उनकी भी life है यार वहाँ पे. They love me. There is no doubt about that. Every day I get a call from my mother. At the same time, she also likes the life she has. She has friends in Bahrain. She has a system and setup in Bahrain. She wants to be with me, but she also wants to live her life. The same way that I am living, I want to live with them, but I'm not going to stop living my life for them. I'm not shifting to Bahrain and saying, चलो मैं आपके पास आ जाता हूँ. मैं भी बोल रहा हूँ आप यहाँ पर हो, मैं भी selfish हूँ ना यहाँ पर हिसाब. So we need to start looking at our parents also as human beings who are more than father, mother, who are more than that. So many stresses they have gone through, so much, अभी तो फिर भी internet है. There's parenting, there are parenting pages, there are parenting vloggers, there are कितना कुछ है. आपको सीखना होगा. You can learn everything on YouTube, everything. College भी आप जा रहे हो, बड़ी अच्छी बात है. YouTube पे अभी college है सारा. So it is, but who taught them? Where did they didn't have opportunities to learn. Where would they have gone to learn? कहाँ पता चलेगा मुझे कि how do, if my child is, it's the same, it's repetition, no? The son has fallen down, hurt his knee. Don't cry, you're a boy. Because when my father was younger, उनको भी यही बोला गया था. So they're repeating the same patterns. There is no new thing that is happening there. So I think the way everyone obviously goes to something with their parents, the way to figure that out is to again have empathy for them first. I know the burden of empathy is always going to be on the younger folks. It is always going to be. Why? And I'll tell you why also. Because you are more aware. You have the internet. You have friends. You talk about these things. You have 100 times more information and knowledge than your parents. You do have that. So then, unfortunately, the burden of, अगर knowledge आपके पास है, तो empathy भी आपको ही आएगा पहले. They don't have the knowledge. You go and talk to your parents about, say, कि I don't want to cook. You are right. As a woman, why should you have to learn to cook? On the other hand, I feel like everybody should learn cooking. Cooking is great. Even boys should learn cooking. So it should be gender agnostic. All genders should learn cooking. सबको आना चाहिए खाना बनाना. But I'm just, as an example, if a woman says कि मुझे cooking क्यों सीखनी है, मुझे नहीं सीखनी है cooking, and you explain that to your mother, she will just be like, no, but woman has to cook. She doesn't understand anything else because she's not gone on the feminism pages. She's not sat and had discussions around how women are oppressed in the country. She was more oppressed than any of you. And any of us. She's been oppressed in her home every single day. Every single day, the fact that she has to go and make food for us, that's oppression. Till today, I speak to my mother, I'm like, you don't need to do this anymore. You don't need to go in the kitchen. Anytime I go, 80% of the time I'm still in the kitchen. I'm like, you don't have to do that. She's like, but I want to now. And now she might want to because that's all she knows in life. She might know even more than that, but she will find that time from all the other time, but she'll still do this because that's the duty that she thinks she has. Our parents think of everything in duties and responsibilities. And they say the same to you, कि आपकी भी duty है, आपकी भी responsibility है. You realize that एक ही नहीं होती, बहुत कुछ है यार life के अंदर. There's lots duties के beyond भी life है, responsibility. I'll tell you one thing that happened in my life. So my mother would constantly tell me, so from Bahrain I came to India and I did engineering at NIT Kurukshetra because I'm a boy. So I used to write at a very young age, at 14, 15 I started writing. I used to get published in newspapers and magazines over there in the Middle East. And yet, when it came to like what career will I have, my mother told me like this one day, she sat me, I said, mujhe na, one day my mother, I had a conversation, I said, mujhe na arts lena hai. College mein. And then she was like shocked. She's like, arts loge tum? I was like, aisa kya bol diya maine? She's like, and she sat me down. She's like, do you understand how this works? I was like, no, tell me. She's like, are you intelligent? I said, हाँ. I mean, I thought so. I said, हाँ. She said, intelligent बच्चे सिर्फ science लेते हैं. I said, अच्छा ऐसा होता है क्या? And then she said, there's a class system. Intelligent बच्चे science लेते हैं, average बच्चे commerce लेते हैं, सबसे नालायक होते हैं arts लेते हैं. तो तुम नालायक हो क्या? मैंने कहा मैं तो नालायक नहीं हूँ. फिर like तुम तो फिर obviously you'll take science, and I was like, yeah, that's great logic. Like makes complete sense, 100% makes sense. Because उस time चेतन भगत भी नहीं था. Like I couldn't even give that example. देखो उसने book लिखी है, तो छोड़ के. So I thought that yeah, this internet नहीं था हमारे पास. We didn't have people like going on and giving talks and having these discussions. So I said okay, done. I took science. Same with engineering after that. I was like अभी science कर लिया, तुम्हें आता है ये तो करो engineering. तो मैं चला गया. Engineering जाके क्या होता है ना, पहले 6 महीने में समझ आता है ये तो नहीं होगा मेरे से. First 6 months you understand I can't do this. And then you have 3.5 years to understand अब करना क्या है. So 3.5 साल तुम करते हो engineering, ये सोचते होते मैं और क्या कर सकता हूँ लाइफ के अंदर. So I was very clear कि I want to write, I don't want to do all of this. So I finished my engineering. I got 2 jobs. I said, देखो I'm capable. I can get jobs. But I didn't take those jobs. I came to Bombay and got a job in Hindustan Times. Then I got a job in MTV India. Then I got a job in Yash Raj. But ever since I started, I had a negotiation with my parents कि मुझे 2 साल दे दो. You want money, no? Because I had left packages that were really high and at Hindustan journalism pays like कुछ नहीं. मैं चप्पल टूट जाती है, मैं पेरेंट्स को कॉल करना पड़ता है, चप्पल टूट गई पैसे भेज दो. तो ये जेन्युइन होता है. So my parents were also like कि तू पैसे तो कमा नहीं रहा, how are you going to sustain and what do you want to do? I said give me 2.5 years, let me try. I worked day and night to prove to my parents that like I can do it, I can make it on my own. But whatever I would do, I'd interviewed everybody from Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan, you name it. At 21, 22, I'd interviewed everybody, Amitabh Bachchan, you name it. And my parents would still be like कि what but that's not what. पैसे कहाँ हैं? ठीक है, you're getting cover stories, ठीक है, you're getting bylines, ठीक है, 22 you're getting awards, but पैसे कहाँ हैं? And then I was like, point तो है, पैसे कहाँ हैं? नहीं है ऐसे, कहाँ से लाऊं पैसे? So then my mother was like, MBA करो. कि MBA कब कर रहे हो? So the whole answer, because all parents unfortunately think that the solution to money in our is MBA. MBA कर लो, पैसा आ जाएगा अपने आप. मतलब ये नहीं होता कि MBA के बाद भी ढूंढना पड़ती है जॉब, पैसे नहीं मिलते कुछ लोगों को. तुमको लगता है मिल जाएगा. So she kept saying this, okay? And then HT के बाद I got into MTV where I did not make roadies, for anybody who's wondering. I have nothing to do with that, please don't judge me. I did a lot of other things. I made a lot of actually fiction programming to begin with. We made 6 films. So I made, when I was 25, it's both like it's a brag also and it's like a shameful thing also. At 25 I made a show. It was MTV's first fiction show in 10 years. I was the creator, producer, writer of that show. I was at MTV, they had made me like this big, like, man, this whiz kid has come from somewhere, he's going to transform MTV. Turned out to be the worst show on planet Earth. It's please, like, it's trauma I have thinking about that show. But 25 पे मैंने एक show बनाया था. Very young. So I called my mom that day and told her like, okay, you wanted me to like make something of my life. I am going to make a show at 25 that's going to come on MTV India, and I'm the writer, producer, creator of that show. My mom said, oh, that's great news. And then she said, but does that mean तुम MBA नहीं करोगे? And that is the first, I mean, this is now after 4 years of her constantly saying, and I got really hurt that day. So I was like, Mom, आप पूरे time पर ना आप, you've been asking me this, I've made something of myself. Okay, I'm not earning as much as MBA folks, sure, but I'm earning a little bit of money, and I'm proving to you that I have it in me to earn something someday. Why? अगर मैंने, चलो hypothetically, अगर मैंने MBA कर लिया फिर क्या होगा? She's like, फिर तुम्हें पैसे मिलेंगे. मैं कहा ठीक है, पैसे मिल गए फिर क्या होगा? Said, फिर तुम घर खरीदोगे. मैं कहा घर खरीदेंगे फिर क्या होगा? गाड़ी खरीदोगे. फिर क्या होगा? फिर शादी करोगे. फिर क्या होगा? फिर बच्चे होंगे. फिर क्या होगा? बच्चों को पालोगे. फिर क्या होगा? बच्चों को कॉलेज भेजोगे. फिर क्या होगा? बच्चों की शादियां करोगे. फिर क्या होगा? फिर क्या होना है? फिर तुम रिटायर हो जाओगे. I said, फिर क्या होगा? फिर क्या होता है? फिर तुम खुश रहोगे. And I am just like, एक सेकेंड, तो मुझे खुश होने के लिए रिटायर होना पड़ेगा. And my mother was like, हाँ. And I was like, but what if मुझे अभी खुश होना है? And she's like, ऐसा नहीं होता. ऐसा कैसे नहीं होता? मुझे अभी खुश होना है, मुझे नहीं वेट करना रिटायरमेंट के लिए, खुशी के लिए. She's like, तुम्हें नहीं समझ आता, तुम्हारे पास ड्यूटीज हैं. And I was like, यार, and then it almost when she said this duty word, na, then it hit me that for all our parents, na, they just think of everything in terms of these duties and responsibilities. उनको लगता है कि जब तक हमने खत्म नहीं की ड्यूटीज, we are not allowed to be happy. We can't think for ourselves. So when that is the conditioning they have, can you imagine, why is it that we have such a tough time? Because they're not even thinking in terms of emotion. They're thinking in terms of responsibilities that were given. वो एक ज़माने में कहीं कहीं वेद में कुछ लिखा होगा यहाँ पर, उन्होंने मान लिया उन्होंने तब से यही है ज़िंदगी कि तुम एक टाइम तक ये करते हो, उसके बाद तुम जाके ज़िंदगी खुश हो सकते हो. बट क्यों? The world is different now. You don't need to do all of this. You can be happy today if you want. You can be happy right now if you want. Just forget about all this. Just live your life one day at a time. Live your life every minute at a time, and you genuinely will find happiness. But no, you know, and it's so tragic, yeah. I've gone to like very randomly. I've gone to an SOTC world tour with my parents once upon a time when I was like, I think 18, 16 I had gone for a world tour with SOTC का. SOTC का एक tour होता है family tour. And उस tour पे ना for the biggest, for some random reason there was a lot of old people on that tour. And I was very confused कि जना ठीक है there these families and then there is just bunch of old people. So then I thought कि जना maybe we have gotten, you know, into a wrong tour, कि maybe this was an old people's tour and some families joined in. But you know, but then I saw like कहीं pass कर रहे थे एक और SOTC tour, उसमें भी ऐसे ही था, आधे लोग जना और all old and the rest of it. So then I became friends with an older couple, you know, became very sweet couple. Started like as 16-year-old, I was like, बताओ अपनी life क्या बात. I was always like interested in knowing about people. say, बताओ क्या होता है, etc. So I asked कि uncle, अच्छा now after like we had gotten sufficient friends, I asked them, you're like, I said, you're very old, obviously. Like, why you and all of these other older folks as a 16-year-old, like, why are you all like on a world tour? I don't get it. Is there like because you don't know the other old people. कुछ तो है scene. Is there like a discount for older people? क्या है? And then he explained to me. And he said कि हमारे बच्चों की शादियां हो गई हैं. I said, oh. He said, yeah, इन सब की हो गई हैं. So now we have nothing to do. So now we can enjoy our life. And I'm like, यार ये तो मतलब अगेन थिंक अबाउट इट. ऐसे इससे पहले आप गए टूर पे नहीं गए क्यों? क्योंकि तब तक बच्चों को संभालना था, शादियां वादियां करानी थी. ये दिस इज द थिंकिंग कि एट 65 आई विल गो फॉर अ वर्ल्ड टूर आफ्टर आई हैव डन एवरीथिंग. देन आई कैन एंजॉय माई लाइफ. देन आई कैन गो आउट एंड सी पेरिस. उससे पहले नहीं देख सकता. उससे पहले मैंने बच्चों को मेक श्योर करना है. दिस इज द सैक्रिफाइस कॉन्स्टेंटली दैट दे थिंक ऑफ. यार तो इट्स अ वेरी all of this is so conditioned. If you need to talk to your parents, start again listening to them. Try and have like a friendly chat with them. They may not think of you as friends. You can think of them as friends. You can go and say, I want to know about your crushes before you married my father or mother. आप बताओ मुझे कि आप जब कॉलेज में थे आपके क्रश नहीं थे क्या? बताओ मुझे उसके बारे में. आपको कभी डिप्रेशन हुआ है क्या? Did you ever get up in the morning and not want to go to college? Did you want to take another stream and have taken whatever stream? Did you want to work but asked to do something else? What was your relationship with your parents? They will take some time to open up. But if you constantly try to have like little conversations with them, they will start opening up. And once they start opening up to you, they will start also asking you, अच्छा तुम बताओ आप. अब मैंने बोल दिया, I also want to hear about you. And then you can also tell about your life then. You can talk about what you're going through. But why you have to open that space up. That space they are not going to because they don't know how to. You can try. If you try, it can open. If it opens, you'll become friends with your parents. I am today friends with my mother. And there was a time, I swear, and it's just so sad, but for at least about 3 to 4 years, we were not on talking terms because I was so disappointed in her that she didn't believe in me. That she just thought that I can't do anything until I do an MBA or whatever. And now we are really close because now, I mean, obviously I earn money now, so she's very happy. But outside of that, I've also like, I feel like, you know, बचपन में ना ये मेरी थियरी है कि बचपन में ना हम लोग बच्चे होते हैं, बहुत सारी शरारतें करते हैं, बेवकूफ़ियाँ करते हैं, and then parents forgive us, you know, and then we become adults, and then हम बेवकूफ़ियाँ करते हैं but वो भी बेवकूफ़ियाँ करते हैं. So both of us then get angry and we don't forgive each other. And then parents बड़े हो जाते हैं और हम भी बड़े हो जाते हैं, and when they get older, then we start forgiving them. Then we are just like, ठीक है, you're getting older, I don't want to get into this, I'll forgive you. I think that's also the loop of life. First they forgive us, then we forgive them. So let's forgive them, you know, and that is the way of, I think, having healthier relationships at home. They're not going to change today, but they might start talking to you, and that's enough.
Yeah. Oh, Nikhil, thank you for that. I think you spoke about a lot of things. You spoke, even in the earlier discussion, you spoke about, again, vulnerability, but then you also spoke about failure and how it is absolutely all right. I think it's very important, not only for the students, I think for all of us, because at every stage, ये सबको ये chance मिलता है, you know, where you fall and you reflect, and then, you know, so thank you, really, thank you for touching upon these topics. Thank you for talking about the relationship, you know, I'm sure, you know, it really helps when you share your stories, because I'm sure very different people connect in a very different way. Now, having said that, again, parents की बात हो रही थी. I always feel that there are two age groups that are really neglected. One is in terms of understanding them. They, of course, हमको समझने में उनको time लगता है because it's a generation gap. But one is the parents, senior citizens अगर हम कहें, and one is the really adolescents, people who are between say 5 or 4, जब से उनको समझ आती है. We never ask them, we just decide for them. Now I'm connecting this to the aspect of self-care, How does one begin to self-care? Or, how does one imbibe that in the little one? You are important and you are important to yourself. When does this begin? And see, I'm older, I'm 50. How do I then begin, How?
I just want to say you don't look 50.
No, it's an
You
example.
look way younger. It's very cool.
I'm
I want to
not
know your
50.
skincare secrets now. I'm like, what are you putting on your skin? This is so cool.
No, I'm not 50. I'm giving an example.
Oh, thank God. I'm like, how is this? Are you an elf? I'm just seeing Lord of the Rings. I was like, this is very strange.
Yeah, so about self-care, that एक तो है जब हम काफ़ी अरसे बाद शुरू करते हैं, but क्यों ना पहले से शुरू करें? Can we do that? How do we do that?
It's very difficult for us to take charge of our lives because at every point of our life there's somebody else in charge of it. So for पहले पेरेंट्स होते हैं, फिर टीचर्स होते हैं, फिर बॉस होते हैं, फिर बच्चे होते हैं. Everybody, there is always somebody who's in charge of your life. You never get a chance to like really take charge of it. So it's not, I feel like it's a system that's so difficult to break out of in every home. But people who understand, we need to encourage it in others. I feel that's the only way things can change a little bit. As an example, I would encourage my boss in Yashraj to take time off for himself. I'd be like, he would always be there after work. I cared about my time. I love my wife. I wanted to kind of keep going home to her. And he would continue being in office. So I was like, यार ये मैं निकलना चाहता हूँ, ये तो रहता है 9-9:30 तक, अब कैसे उसको. And he wouldn't, for whatever it was, he wouldn't ever tell me कि तुम मत जाओ. But I used to feel really bad that he's staying in office late and I am leaving. On time, not early, like on time or a little bit off. So then I started speaking to him and telling him, you should care about your health, self-care. You should take time out. You should go and spend time with your family. Why are you working right now? You cannot be working, etc., etc. So I would drag him and say, you leave office. And then he also started recognizing that, it's not a bad thing to leave office. And when he started doing that, then the system in our office started changing. Where he was also like, then after a point in time, क्यों तुम, रह रहे हो इतना, ठीक है. He started saying that at some point in time, आज क्या है? आज इतना extra क्यों काम कर रहे हो? जाओ घर. I was like, wow, refreshing change. To change our own lives, we have to unfortunately change the systems around us. It will all start at home only. It will all start with each other. आपके उस घर पे अपने friends के साथ system change करो. Again, we were talking about masculinity earlier. We were talking about groups. If you are as boys, tell other boys to take it easy when they're taking it hard. When someone's stressed about their studies, sit with them and say it's okay. Everyone goes through this. I've also gone through this. You're going to be okay as well. When someone's had a breakup, sit with them and tell it's okay. I am here with you. You are there with yourself. You will overcome this. Be good, be good friends with each other. Just be good human beings with each other. Encourage each other. Jam, when you are seeing your friend taking stress about a failure, explain to that every one of us has gone through it. हम लोग क्या करते हैं ना, as मैं ना ये भी notice करता हूँ Instagram पे, okay? You see a girl putting up any post on Instagram. There'll be 100 girls after that saying, wow, beautiful, you're amazing, love this picture. She could have just been eating a sandwich. And everyone's like, amazing, this is the best thing ever. इतना प्यार होता है. और लड़कों से भी आता है, वाह 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 क्या सैंडविच है, क्या दिख रहे हो, ये वो लड़के फोटो डालते हैं ना. आई डोंट सी लड़के के दूसरों के कमेंट होते हैं, गधा, क्या लग रहा है, बेवकूफ, क्या पहन लिया, हा सो फनी, ये जैकेट कभी मत पहनना जिंदगी में, क्या है ये. वाई इज इट सो हार्ड टू गिव कॉम्प्लीमेंट टू अदर बॉयज यार. ठीक है, कोई अच्छा दिख रहा बोलो, अच्छे दिख रहे हो तुम, क्या फर्क पड़ता है. लड़कों से हक करने में घबराते हैं हम लोग. गर्ल्स किसी each other, we don't. boy ever kisses a boy on the cheek, oh my god, sensation हो गया. Why? It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's a term of it's a expression of endearment. You like somebody, you want to give them a kiss, it's okay. It's a peck. Consent law, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, there's nothing to, worry about. You can comment, you can put emojis, you can put heart in front of boys' posts also. It's fine. जितना तुम लड़कियों की पोस्ट में डालते हो लड़कों में भी डाल सकते हो. अच्छा लगेगा लड़कों को. अरे क्या, बट वो भी घबरा जाता है कि अरे ये क्यों ऐसा लग रहा है. Why is this person saying this thing to me? क्या हो गया तुझे? But we need to change the setup. We need to change the system. We need to allow ourselves to be okay with love, okay with empathy, okay with like kindness to each other, compliments to each other, expressions of endearment to each other. It's all okay. It's good only. It's very healthy to have such friendships. It's healthy to encourage each other to cry. It's healthy to encourage each other to feel. So it's all, I feel like, again, everything should to create spaces for ourselves for self-care. I think again we need to start creating them in the systems and surroundings we have. वो encourage करोगे, then you will also get. Otherwise क्या होगा, तुम you'll constantly keep fighting कि मुझे चाहिए time, but the other person, why will the other person give you or allow you that time when they have never got that time for themselves? So you encourage them and you also take that time, you take it together, but take that time. I feel like सब productivity की बात करते हैं. I have never been on top of my game as much as after I come back after a break. If I restore, go away for a little while, I come back even fresher and I'm able to do work 100 times better. If I don't have a good night's sleep, तुम जितना भी कर लो, you'll never be on that top of your game. Spas have become really important to me. I love massages. चाहिए मुझे हर महीने. I like it. Earlier my wife would always, take pedicures and manicures and she'd just be like, why don't you take? I was like, नहीं लड़के नहीं. अभी भी मेरा चाहे 1 साल पहले की बात है कि she told me take a pedicure. I was like, नहीं. I was embarrassed. I was like, लड़के सैलून में ऐड pedicure मुझे embarrassment होती थी. So one day, like on one of our, I think it was anniversary or something, and she said like, she booked one. Said you have to come and there's no other, you have to take. And then and I took it. I was like, this is so great, yaar. कितना मजा आता है. My nails looked so nice. I was like, why am I against this? It's clean. It looks so nice. Now क्या हो गया, वो भी समझ गया सैलून वाला. तो मैं जाता हूँ हर बारी, तो after the haircut is like, so pedicure, manicure. And then मैं पिघल जाता हूँ कि ठीक है कर लेते हैं यार. अच्छा लगता है, मजा आता है. So it's okay. You need to allow yourself these things. These are not luxuries. It's fine. So it's so much of it is conditioning. Yeah? So much needs to be unlearned. So just the process. It's, as I said, everything is hard. Learning is hard. Unlearning is hard. Choose your heart. Eventually, I think the peace, fulfillment, contentment that you feel inside will come if you're really doing something that you like doing. If you are at peace with yourself, if you are at peace with the surroundings that you have, and that will only happen if you're okay with who you are. And that will only happen if you choose the hard initially. That's hard for you, not because somebody else is making hard. We have time for like questions from others. I'd love to like hear if there's questions anybody else has, or even anything you want to say. It doesn't even have to be a question. If someone has something to say right now, I would love to hear from all genders. Please. We'd love to hear. Anybody?
Guys,
anything?
please feel free. Just
Yes.
raise your hands.
Yes, okay. Is there a mic that we can have? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Hello, check.
That's so sweet. What's your name? Sorry? Nadia. Nadia, what a lovely question. Nadia has asked, like, is there something we can do for our fathers at home to make them feel like heard? So sweet, such a sweet question. Yes, always, and sometimes it is as simple as asking, how are you, yaar? I mean, मुझे लगता है हम लोग ना, how are you? We don't even like, हम लोग ना, it's a social obligation. How are you? I'm fine. Okay, great. Let's move on. How are you? And it's okay to like spend 2 minutes of your time hearing each other out. मेरी जिंदगी में ना मैं तो कोई पूछता है how are you, तो मैं तो बता देता हूँ. How are you, babe? Sit, I'll tell you now. I am okay with answering. I have no issues. I'll tell exactly what I'm feeling. I have no filters over there. तुमने पूछा मैं बताऊंगा. And then I see people getting impatient also. I'm like, अब तूने पूछा है. And it's and I also obviously I encourage others and I ask how are you and they don't answer. I'm okay. No, I'm genuinely asking. I'm not saying how are you and you have to say it's not a sober. I care. I want as a human being. I want to know are you okay. And then some people just sometimes get very like I've done this with my during the pandemic. We were all doing Zoom calls and Zoom meetings and whatnot. And this is pandemic. We are a social mental health company. Social. हम लोग तो करते थे. मैं तो शुरू कर दिया था initially pandemic के अंदर. That the first 1 hour of every day we will only just speak to each other, ask each other how we are doing. तो 1 घंटा पूरी team and we were smaller team then 7, 8, 9, 10, 9 people थे शायद. And we just spent like 1 hour answering. And then I also started like I said कि हम लोग तो कर ही रहे हैं. And then we begin our work or whatever. We were working with clients, working with partners, etc. So every Zoom meeting I'd ask clients also, how are you? And clients will be like, yeah, okay, so today's agenda. I was like, no. How are you? And then the client would be like, wait, somebody asked me how I am doing? And because corporate sector, they would just get so taken aback and like, you really want to know? I was like, yes, tell. And then they would tell, oh, I had somebody in my family got COVID, so I am feeling really like down. Like it's okay, hopefully I'm sure so many of us are going through this, it's going to be fine. It's just that. And then they just breathe easy. They just be like, सब लोग आते हैं Zoom calls में इतना stress, इतना सब कुछ लेकर, so much in their mind, so much going on in the world around, and then, before even like getting to know each other for 1 second, we're just like, let's get to agendas, let's be productive, productivity, hustle, पागलों वाली चीजें. Like just genuinely take a step back, ask how are you. I have started doing that. I have started like, to get my father loves talking, which is a different thing. But like, sometimes just asking what the mental health of your father, sitting and being like, haven't spoken with you, how are you doing? I think it's such a beautiful way to like start, yaar. How are you? And meaningfully answer. And meaningfully wait till their response is given. And then see what happens, yaar. So I feel, utna hi hota hai. Just making people feel seen and heard. Like they exist. हम लोग सोचते ही नहीं वैसे. हम लोग लगता है कि people are statistics to us. इतने लोग हैं ना इंडिया के अंदर, सब statistic बन गया है कि जो है ना हम लोग देखते नहीं. यहाँ पर 50 लोग हैं. Okay, great, 50 people. I have gone for the road show, and in the road show there were sometimes like 500 people in an auditorium, which is beautiful. And then I have gone to colleges where like class cancel hogi, something happened, and only 5 people have turned up. And then the people who are organizing, so sorry sir, like we don't need to do this, they've cancelled. I said, why? 5 people are there. I want to talk to 5 people today. And I've spent that time just listening, and I'm telling you the best, most meaningful conversations have happened with those 5 people in that campus. Because we've gotten to know each other. Some of them become friends today. Just like, chalo baat karte hain. Kya fark padta hai? So just, I think we need to also start acknowledging human beings a little bit more. Just like you exist. And I get that. I acknowledge you. It's not like we're not machines. It's not like a simulation that we are. It could be. I don't know. But I don't think it is. Any other questions?
Hello. So,
what's your name?
Aparna.
Aparna, hi.
Yeah, so actually this question is from behalf of all my friends. I wanted to know that how much okay is it to make fun of these topics in a group?
What?
Yes.
In
because,
what way?
because, when we talk on a very general basis, people make fun of these little things, girls being dumb, or maybe these masculinity expectations people have, or, koi gaadi chala raha hai to ladki hogi, iske liye aisa kiya. So, how
I get
much...
your question now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a great question. There's a stand-up special by Hannah Gadsby where she said this wonderful thing where she said that, anytime we make fun of, she was talking about, comedy, and she was talking about self-humor and self-deprecation. So anytime you make fun of these things, it's not actually humor, it's humiliation. So what you're actually doing is anybody who is, see again, there is, now your generation, I know that your generation has dank jokes also. तो वो तो मुझे पता है वो अलग ही है. ठीक है? It's also about self-awareness, right? I can be in a group of my friends, and for 5 minutes now, if you want to take very close friends, And if we crack a stupid joke, we know that this is not a stereotype we are perpetuating. There is it's just, now as an example, like, engineering college student, my best friend and he's from South India, I'm from, I'm from wherever. And I'm overweight, he's very dark. He used to call me like, fat ass. And I used to call him like, I can't tell you what I used to call him. I used to call him like, मैं उसके चेहरे का मजाक उड़ाता था. Now, we have gone through so much together. We have been there with each other. He's been to my marriage, I've been to his, I've seen him through highs, lows, etc., etc. We still call each other that. When we were calling at that time, we were actually stupid. We were perpetuating stereotypes. We didn't realize that, like maybe I feel bad about my body. Maybe he feels, like maybe I'm making him feel as if his dark skin is not a good thing. But today we are self-aware. And today when we say these things, it is a term of endearment for each other. It's not to make fun of but I wouldn't call him that in front of anybody else. And he wouldn't call me that in front of anybody else. Because at that time, we might be perpetuating a stereotype. In front of each other, we have that safe space to be able to say anything stupid. And that's okay. I think if you have safe spaces in your friends, you can also be stupid. As long as you have the self-awareness that we are not doing this because we actually are being oppressive. It takes time to get to that place. But I feel like when you're in an audience in general, I don't think we should be, we should be sensitized, sensitive about these conversations. We should always be thoughtful about what we are saying, how we are saying, who we are saying to. I don't use the term guys anymore. I say folks. Because I don't want to. And again, people say guys, it's fine. I don't want to say. I don't start by saying ladies and gentlemen. Because it's not just ladies and gentlemen. There are other genders also. I don't want to say ladies and gentlemen. I want to say hi everyone. Always say hi everyone. Never say David. But those are things that I have now spent a long time learning, being stupid sometimes, saying wrong things. I still say wrong things. Everybody will always continue saying wrong things. As long as you are learning and doing better, that's the whole point. So just learn. Recognize that in a room of people, everybody is going through something. Everybody. When you make fun of a guy who is, and there's a guy who told me once, after the hug, one of the guys who had given a hug told me a story about how his girlfriend broke up with him because he used to cry. Said, I don't want to be a weak man. ये भी होता है. And it's sad. The girl perpetuated कि लड़के रो नहीं सकते. On the other hand, I met this beautiful couple in one of the colleges, like college couple, and why do they like each other? Because we cry with each other. Such a beautiful, healthy thing. हम लोग साथ में रोते हैं. That's the love story क्या है? साथ में रोना अच्छा लगता है. Like ये तो कितना cute है. So it's okay. You don't have to make those jokes. There are many other things to talk about, but in a safe space, you can also make those jokes. But in public spaces, just try and be a little bit more thoughtful. Everybody is going through something we don't know. Every single person. That doesn't mean tripping over yourself. That doesn't mean always being कभी-कभी गलती से कुछ बोल भी दिया. If somebody has corrected you, be kind enough, to be self-aware enough to say, I'm sorry. I'll try and do better. People are not correcting you to tell you are an ass. They are correcting you to tell you that, I didn't like it. And if you hear it out, I think it's beautiful. Then they appreciate it even more. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. But then it's been so okay. It's been so casual these days that whoever you talk to, they do have these generalized ideas of, this one can do this can do that, or ये ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, करनी चाहिए. And that becomes a joke. And that's okay with everyone.
You change it then. So, Aparna, you change it. You know it. You change it. Khatam. It starts with one. मैंने अभी अब 22 लोगों की टीम बना दी है जो मेरे जैसे सोचती है. But hey, कर सकते तुम. It can happen. My favorite part about my team is the business head of my company is on Instagram on the page doing a reel called Men Ki Baat, where he talks about vulnerable masculinity. And he's the business head of Yuva. I love that. He's not from the creative team. He's not from the content team. And he does reels every day about how to be a better man. And that's the kind of people that, you can be business person and be talking about, you can have reels where you're talking about, positive masculinity. He got called social media star of the, before anybody in our social team, which was so sad, HT called him the social media star of the week for his reels. And everybody, the reels are being written by the whole team. बेचारा को उनको credit नहीं मिला, now they have also started getting recognized. But it's possible, yeah. If you change, if you bring, and without being again sorry, I'm using this language, but without being an asshole to someone, also you can, correct people also. You don't have to be like, you are wrong. That's not the way to behave. Understand that everyone's got condition, and if we sit with each other, have honest conversation, just be okay with correcting each other. I don't think we should say this. बस मान जाते हैं, अच्छे लोग होते हैं तो, नहीं अच्छे लोग हैं तो दूसरे दोस्त ढूंढो.
Thank you,
Best.
sir. Thank you.
Welcome. You guys sit
Hello.
over here. You all, why are you sit over here? Like it's all standing in a queue. बैठ जाओ, ऐसे अजीब लग रहा है.
It's okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Sushma.
Sushma, hi.
Yeah, so I have a question. I'm very curious. It's my personal experience. In a group of men, my age, my friends, my school friends, when we talk on a one-to-one level, personally, like they are very vulnerable towards their female friends. But when they are in a group of men, their personality changes dramatically. Why does it happen? I understand that patriarchy has done this. It's all about, end में patriarchy है इसलिए ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है. I get it. But मेरे एज के लोग, मेरे एज के लड़के अगर ऐसा बिहेव कर रहे हैं तो तुम भी तो सोशल मीडिया पे हो, हम भी हैं, तुम भी हो, तुम बात करो ना एक दूसरे से. It's a complaint, it's an experience.
No, I get it. Thank you so much. I think it's a it's a very fair point. बहुत social pressure होता है, बहुत social pressure होता है of कि who will be the first one. There are existing dynamics that have been coming from centuries. Boys clubs, boys will be boys. All of this shit has been coming from centuries. Your dads have those clubs. You have those clubs. Everybody around you has those things. And then it becomes so difficult for you to be the one who's breaking out. Because क्या होता है ना, सबसे पहले ostracization होता है. सबसे पहले when I have taken some stances online, some time ago, around Me Too is happening in the industry. I was in Bollywood, I was in Yash Raj. A lot of female friends of mine were going through something. A lot of people I knew were being called out. I took the side of the women and spoke very openly. Every conversation I had in a group of men after that, at least for about 8 to 9 months, I was ostracized, made fun of, told that you're being an idiot. What if a girl comes and says something to you, what will you do? मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं, क्यों बोलेंगे? तेरे को लगता है कि नहीं किया तब हो 100% तेरे पे केस आएगा. तू देख, तू सबके लिए. It is how to be the first. You have to go through hard times, and the problem is nobody wants to, go through hard times. That's the problem, no? If I'm the first person saying कि ना नहीं यार, we shouldn't talk about girls like this, 4 other people are just going to be like, कि अच्छा, oh, look at this guy, he's becoming, and you don't want to go through that. So you're like, why should I be the one speaking? In one-on-one, I know I'm a decent person, but in front of friends, I don't. And maybe all of them are thinking the same thing, which is why actually the responsibility is on the men. You all have to kind of, in your own groups, maybe individually, allow each other the spaces to kind of tell each other that it's okay to be nice. It's okay to be, humor doesn't have to be cruel. Humor doesn't have to oppress others. Humor doesn't have to take somebody else's case. You can be funny without having to like put someone else down. And if you can do that, it's okay. I think it's very cool to be vulnerable. तो वो अभी धीरे धीरे it'll change one at a time. I don't think there is a easy solution to it. The onus is on the boys. अब मैंने 1.5 घंटा बोला, अभी सीखेंगे तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं करेंगे तो क्या कर सकते हैं बताओ. But you need a lot more of this conversation. It's not just, and I'll tell you also need, I don't want to ma'am, it's not to say that I don't know what's the context of this, but I've seen all the posters में सारे आदमी हैं. I don't like whenever I see a poster, it's all men. How are you going to learn? How are the men going to learn? Yeah, I'm sure there's a context to it. Yeah. Sure. No, fair enough, ma'am. I get that. But what happens is when external speakers come and if they're not intersectional in nature, now they are learning from you, and as teachers, and also teaching, and as you would know, the profession of teaching is also gendered. It's so sad but it is gendered. there are fewer men in this profession anyway because it's not as well paying as a corporate job. And because of that, men don't take it because उनको पैसा चाहिए होता है. So in general, it is women. So it is just, I think, like to open everybody's minds, we just need to be more aware of like the fact that, you know, in every such conversation, in every such forum, how can we open up everybody to more points of view? Now, I might be, as an empathetic man, be saying a lot of things. The men in this room, also the women and everybody, all genders in this room, also need to hear from, you know, women who have gone through something, who can be relevant and who can also talk to them in a language they understand, you know. But we need to have that. We need to have LGBTQ folks, you know, who are coming and telling you there are gay men who can talk about masculinity in a fantastic way, in a fabulous manner. So just that thing, I feel like, you know, until we, I think until yeah, sorry, I was like, until we start like allowing ourselves to be part of more points of views and spend time listening to more points of views than the ones we have or our friends have, we won't be able to change the interpersonal dynamics. The dynamics will only change if we attend as fervently a lecture or a, you know, someone who is, you know, a well, you know, someone who's successful man, as much as you could be from a woman who's running an NGO who would have absolutely incredible insights to give. And it's so important to give that respect. तो ये मुझे लगता है कि ना, sorry, I mean, I said I don't know the context. I'm sure that there's some context to this, but I just feel like, you know, it's important that every forum should have as much, you know, intersectionality as possible.
No, we have had wonderful women speakers also.
I'm sure.
This
that's
is
what
the
I'm
only
saying.
time, and this is the time when we are starting the discussion on masculinity. Feminism, we teach a lot and we deal with feminism a lot, but we don't deal, and that's why this special topic was started.
Well, absolutely, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for you
No,
to
this
reaching
is-
out and getting me.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
When we are showing faces, probably women
Yeah,
representation
it's
is
just,
also
it's
important.
more to do from the fact, you know, that people,
Yes.
I don't know the context, people don't know the context.
Yes.
I don't know how many women speakers have been there. But जब poster होता है ना बाहर, तो वो poster के अंदर ना, that's the, you are also, well, it looks like it's a perpetuating कि
Yeah,
only
yeah.
men speakers are worth listening to.
Yeah.
And
No.
people might just see one poster, they have no context, and that's the world we live in.
Yes.
लोग एक opinion देखते हैं, एक poster देखते हैं, एक judgment बना लेते हैं. You know,
No,
तो-
next time we'll remember that it will not be all men speaking.
Thank you, man. That's very kind. See, this is what I was
Thanks a
talking
lot.
about. When you listen,
Thanks
and
a lot. Thanks a
absolutely.
lot.
Thank you for saying that, ma'am.
Hello, sir. My name is Janvi. So, my question to you is, why do you think men, although being powerful, yet feel powerless? And do you think is it necessary to establish a community for men where they can express their feelings? And if yes, then why?
Great question. All of you have such good questions, you know. The power of men, unfortunately, comes from forcing that power on others. It doesn't come from feeling powerful yourself. The power of men comes from, in a dynamic of men and women, or men and any other gender, being like, I am the superior. In an office space, in a corporate setup, I am the boss. In any space, in like a, again, caste hierarchies, वो भी बहुत बड़ा discussion है. It comes from, the power comes from, I am in a better position, I'm the superior sex, that is why I have power. But actually life के अंदर मैंने जैसे सारी बात की, the powerlessness comes from because I am part of this structure that I can't break out of. I have to do engineering, I have to do MBA, I have to get this much marks. Even the folks who are doing architecture over here, I'm sure there must have been a fight, you know, in your families कि मुझे ये करना है. उसके बावजूद उसके अभी जो पैसे मिलेंगे CTCs होंगे उस पर भी फाइट होगा. बहुत हैं. There is, and then you feel helpless. कि even if I choose, I have chosen media, but I had such a fight that I got anxiety after being in Yashraj and at that position. Because I was feeling powerless in my whole life. Like मैंने ये सब इसलिए किया क्योंकि मुझे checklist दी गई थी. मैं अपने लिए क्या कर रहा हूँ? What am I doing for myself? Even today, I went back to therapy again recently to have a discussion that I still feel that even when I'm doing Yuva, there is some expectations that I have of the things I'm supposed to do. But there are things I want to do, which I feel like I'm not giving enough time to. Why I feel therapy is great, again, just anybody, if you can, I know it's expensive, but there's also a lot of therapists who give sliding scales to students. If you have the money, if you have the privilege, please go to therapists. It's the best. It can really help you unlearn and learn so much about yourself. It's amazing. It's been life-changing, transformative to me. So I've been having this discussion कि क्यों मुझे अभी भी जो है ना, but it's so ingrained, जानवी. It's so ingrained. तुम जी रहे हो अपने लिए, नहीं किसी और के लिए. हम अपने लिए कहाँ जीते हैं? Mothers are living for their children, fathers are living for their families, children are living for their parents. Everybody is living for each other, nobody is living for themselves. And जब भी कोई करता है ना ऐसा कुछ, anybody who says like I am independent, लोग बोलते हैं अच्छा तुम तो selfish हो, तुमने तो छोड़ दिया, तुम तो अकेले रहने चाहते हो. That's the guilt trip that is being given. कि somebody wants to choose something of their own, oh you are breaking the structure. It's either guilt trips or on the other hand this violence. कि थप्पड़ मारना, ये करना, वो करना. It's a very sad system. So again, I think conversations help. Every one of these conversations, and again, thank you, really grateful that you're having this conversation. Every one of these conversations is going to do a little bit. It won't do drastic changes, but more such conversations are needed regularly. Not from me, from everybody. Everybody around, and we need to choose. Now, if you're in a position to choose right now, choose your icons. Who are you following on social media? Tell me, like, I mean, I don't want to shit on people now, but like, who are the people, like, and guys, I want to know, who are the people you are following on social media? बताओ मुझे थोड़े थोड़े. और I'm not going to like pass judgment or comment, but I just want to hear, who are you following on like social media influencers among men? Who are the people you are following? No, I want to hear from the men. Men who are the other men you are following on social media? Just some names. Men, boys, who are you following on social media? I'm not going to judge, I just want to hear the names. Yes. Sorry? Yeah, Ronaldo, great. Sorry, footballer, huh? Who else? Who's that? Okay, Vampire Diaries का कोई? Very cool. Anybody else? Indian influencers वगैरह? Agastya Shah, he is cool, I like him. Gaurav Taneja, flying beast. No comments. Anybody else? I said I'm not going to judge, I'm judging, I'm really bad, sorry. Really sorry. Any other?
Tanmay Bhatt.
Tanmay Bhatt, okay. How many of these people talk about, masculinity in a vulnerable way? Just this much I want to ask. How many of these people are saying self-care is important? How many of these people are saying as men you need to take care of yourself? कौन बोल रहा है यहाँ पर? जितने तुम लोग follow कर रहे हो as men, and they're all, let me also say, most of these people are people I know well, are friends in some way. I don't want to no judgment, no passing, comments. And I've had these discussions with some of them also. You should talk a lot more about these things. But how many of these people are actually, and think about it, guys, who are you following? What are they constantly talking about? What are you, when you open your reels, what are the things that you're getting? Career is important, hustle is important, work until you die, ये सब तो मिलने को पढ़ने को मिलता है, कि अगर तूने जिंदगी में कुछ किया नहीं, तुम क्या है तुम्हारी जिंदगी, आधा टाइम तो ये सुनते रहते हो तुम, तो फिर तुम्हें क्या, how will you have other perspectives? Follow people who are talking about, other things, men, and there's so many. Varun Dugirala is a good friend of mine, talks about this how many follow Varun? Anyone follows Varun Dugirala over here? Follow him, yeah, he's such a good guy, such a lovely influencer, speaks so many nice things, honest things, such acha, and we need to find more such people. Who are these other, there is this Justin Baldoni, who is, yes. Justin Baldoni, okay. What's your name? Kriti. Yeah, Justin Baldoni is a lovely, thank you. He runs the podcast called Man Enough. Fantastic guy, and he's he's a TV actor, film star, all of this guy. Written a lovely book also called Man Enough. Check that out. lots of, and follow women who are saying such incredible things, you know. And again, I don't want to, single out people, but most of the influencers, YouTubers are perpetuating a lot of like, बस काम करो और कुछ नहीं करना लाइफ के अंदर, जब तक तुम्हारी लाइफ कूल नहीं है तुम्हारी लाइफ का मतलब नहीं है, जब तक तुम्हारी लाइफ में तुम हासिल नहीं कर रहे हो उसका मतलब नहीं है. क्यों किसने कहा ये? Just because they are doing it and they're getting money out of it. Let me be very honest. They are saying it because they get money out of it, because people share it. When you talk about kindness, self-care, I'll tell you, I talk about it, 90% of my audience is women. And I feel like bad about that. It's great that women are following me, but I want to talk to the men. When I put comments, मैं जो भी पोस्ट डालता हूँ ना, मैं हमेशा नोटिस करता हूँ यार, मैं कितनी सेल्फ केयर कुछ भी लिखता हूँ ना, मेरी थ्रेड्स बहुत वायरल जाते हैं. 85% कमेंट्स आर विमेन. 85% कमेंट्स. 15% शायद लड़कों के आएंगे कमेंट्स. एंड आई नो बॉयज रीड, they feel like, I don't know if I should comment, I don't know if I should share, because this is not what I want to talk about. So I just feel like you also, what is that social media diet that you are on? Think about it. Don't be so like, question things. Why am I following this person? Am I following this person just because this person is famous? Or am I following this person because they're saying something that is adding value to my life? That is making, that's not putting pressure on me. Everybody is putting pressure on you. क्रिप्टो सीख लो, NFT सीख लो. अभी देखा कितने स्कैम हो गए, आधा क्रिप्टो खत्म हो गया है, आधे लड़कों ने इसमें पैसे डुबा दिए. इट्स सो सैड यार. All these famous influencers started doing, I also got, just to tell you, I got a lot of crypto ads for good money. Ads मतलब social media posts कि तुम्हें इतना पैसा दूंगा क्रिप्टो में लिखो. मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं करना. I don't want this money because I don't know, I'm not sure about this right now. And then same folks others have done, and 2 months later now most of these companies are डूब रही हैं, crashing. So many men have lost money on this now because they thought it's the next big wave. It still might be, but you don't know enough. You're doing it because everybody is doing it. You're not doing it because you are the expert in this. So find out what is your expertise. Take that time to find out and enhance your social media diet. Learn from different perspectives. It is so amazing being well spoken, well articulated, having a good, it's so great for the mind, yeah, when you're in a conversation with other people.
Thank
I
you,
don't know if
sir.
that answers the question, but
Yeah,
like,
thank
yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruchir Deshmukh. I'm from third year.
Ruchir, I love your questions. I'm so happy that you're constantly raising your hand and speaking up. I want another applause for this boy. He's superb.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ruchir.
So recently,
So Nadia, you had something to say. We'll just hear him and then.
Yeah. So recently I came across a YouTube video which was the heading was Embracing Masculinity. So in that the speaker said that only women, children and pets are loved unconditionally, whereas men are loved under condition. So what are your views on that?
Nobody is loved unconditionally. Women कहाँ unconditionally are loved in this country? कौन love unconditionally करता है? Such lies. कुछ नहीं, women को तो सबसे ज़्यादा मतलब इतना pressure, इतना burden, सब कुछ is on women only यार. मैं कह रहा हूँ, मैं mother हो, my wife, I am a feminist. I in my household want to do equal. मैं बोलता हूँ नहीं wife को कि she's obsessed with cleaning, and I'm like, we can get other folks. No, I want to. We have to. Why? I'm like, why? I mean, sure, cleaning is good. It's good, but not so much. But it's so ingrained in her that मुझे ना kitchen को साफ रखना है. क्यों? Kitchen को रहने दो जैसा है. अभी कल आ रही है. Somebody is coming. Domestic workers there. She's coming and she'll do it. But no. But it's just ingrained. It is ingrained in women. So all these generalizations I feel like are wrong. Pets could be, there are not enough people who are like nice and kind. I mean, dogs are the best, but still. Who else is it?
Children.
Children को सबसे ज़्यादा हमारी country में. हमारी country में ना सबसे बड़ा farce, सब scam is this statement called, no disrespect to anybody, but it's a statement called बड़ों की इज्जत करो. सुना सबने?
Yes.
Respect your elders. I'm not saying don't respect your elders. But why is not the statement respect everybody? सबकी इज्जत करो. नहीं, सिर्फ बड़ों की इज्जत करो, बच्चों को थप्पड़ वप्पड़ लात मार सब मार सकते हो, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. It's again power structures. बड़ों की क्यों इज्जत करो? Because बड़े जब बोले तुम्हें कि तुम्हें ये करियर चाहिए, तुम्हें हाँ करना पड़ेगा. जब तुम्हें बोले तुम्हें ऐसे बिहेव करना, तुम्हें करना पड़ेगा. तुमको कुकिंग करनी, तुम्हें करनी पड़ेगी. Children are in fact I feel like the most oppressed in our country are children, because they don't get to live their lives as kids. मतलब इतने बड़े बड़े बैग्स देख जाते हैं. I know there's a 16-year, I mean we had an intern who's 15, 16. I'm like, she was doing an internship while she was in school. First of all, school कर रही थी, internship कर रही थी, then she would do Kathak dance के लिए जाती है, then piano lesson के लिए जाती है. She was started after a point in time, like she would take 10-minute naps where she would sit and sleep under our desk. And I'm like, तुम क्या कर रही हो अपनी लाइफ के साथ? Why are you doing so much? इतना प्रेशर है बच्चों पर यार, इतना प्रेशर. तो ये तो झूठी है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अनकंडीशनल किसी को प्यार नहीं करते. आई थिंक सबके साथ ही हमारी कंट्री एंड सोसाइटी के अंदर आई वुड से वी आर ऑलवेज लाइक पुटिंग बर्डन ऑन एवरीबडी अराउंड अस, बिकॉज दैट बर्डन, मेरे पास बर्डन है मैं दूसरों पर डालूंगा. अपने आप से बर्डन निकालो, दूसरों से बर्डन निकालो. लेट्स हैव लाइक होलसम लाइव्स. व्हाई इज इट सो डिफिकल्ट? सो या,
Thank you, sir. That answered the question.
Thanks.
Hello, sir. I'm Runmai. Just the continuation with the parents and kids relation. I just have a question. As a parent, how do you suggest to let your kids understand or withstand the peer pressure and maintain a positive outlook towards feminism as well as positive masculinity? Personally, I have like kids with both the genders, so I do see a stark.
Great question, ma'am. Very, very good question. I would say that how I would have preferred, like for example, when it's so basic, no? जब बचपन में ना, when you go into a toy store also, लड़कियों के section is pink, all stuffed toys. लड़कों के section GI Joe, super heroes, blue. Even gender, जो foreign में gender reveal parties होती हैं, blue and pink. This is also just किसने कहा लड़के को पिंक नहीं अच्छा, पिंक नहीं पहन सकते?
Same. I'm like I face that issue. Like my son apparently loves everything that is pink. Daughter loves
great.
blue. So, but then they are offered things which are like,
and
then they struggle or stumble upon, or they feel that something is being particularly pushed on them that they have to like. So then that how
it's
to.
very hard. There is कोई easy solution ही नहीं है. I can't imagine how hard it is to be a parent and at this point of time, especially aware parents. मेरे को तो बहुत डर लगता है. I want to have a kid soon, but I'm so scared कि how am I going to like with the world as it is and the way I want the world to be. It's not, there is no sync, unfortunately. Like there's certain things we can do. Like again, when you're talking about, when you're telling stories to children, don't just लड़कों को जो ना आप सारे जो ना आइकॉन्स की बात बोलते हैं तो हमेशा मेल आइकॉन्स बोलते हैं. लड़कों को भी फीमेल आइकॉन्स के बताओ. Let's tell, and same with the women, like and same with all genders, whoever your kid is, we should be able to give them icons of every gender. We should be giving them icons of all kinds of, open them up for discussion, make sure that there are class systems in place, there are caste systems in place. We need to break open all of that. I think if we are open to conversation, as for young children also, if they want to choose something, ask them why. Try and understand what they're saying. Respect needs to be given for the youngest people just as much as, मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि ना, respect की hierarchy नहीं हो सकती. We can't have a hierarchy of respect. You're old, so I'll give you respect. You're young, I will not give you respect. Even the child needs respect. When the child has something they want to say, we need to give them the respect of listening to them. But parenting is very hard. I'm not a parent, ma'am. I feel like it's so hard right now. But like जो छोटे gender stereotypes हैं, we just need to do whatever we can to break out of them. Don't only show them superhero movies. Show them movies also of like, women achievers, etc. So that they know that it's an equal world. In our homes, how are we making? What are they seeing? Are they seeing the father go out and the mother in the kitchen? Are they seeing the father never putting anything in the washing machine while the mother is always in cooking? If that's what they're seeing, that is what they're continuing to. I've had this chat with my wife a lot. I said, when the kids are born, you can't. It has to be like, we have to either equally be in the kitchen or because I don't want my kids to grow up and again think, कि kitchen में से mother होती है. वो अभी उसको पसंद है kitchen. अब मैं क्या करूँ? And she likes it. She's doing a fabulous job. She has she's Citibank AVP. And still she loves cooking. That's her thing. But again, maybe she loves cooking because it's gendered. And maybe if I would have been taught cooking when I was younger, maybe I would have also picked up cooking and I've loved it. बट मैं हॉस्टल में से मैगी बना के खाया मैंने, क्योंकि मुझे नहीं आती थी उस टाइम पर. So it's very tough. I really like feel for you. But you're asking the right questions, ma'am. I think that's the thing. You ask the right questions and the right answers will also happen, I feel.
There's one very small thing that I would like to add here. This color pink and color blue. In color theory, the pink is the color which gives you calmness.
Wow.
We don't know whether the color pink was imposed on girls. We don't know. Because if you see in America prisons, the inmates wear pink so that they are calm, their nerves are calm, and they are not behaving violently or aggressively. So I do not know whether the pink was imposed in that way on girls. So it's good, Mridmay, if your son wears pink, it's wonderful. Let him wear pink, and let the daughter wear blue. It's okay. These are these are narratives which are created by society. By I don't know why. I just don't understand why the girls have to wear pink. Everything, the Barbie doll, the shoes, the bag, the books, everything is pink. But then you can say my daughter doesn't like. So my elder daughter, she has made it very clear. I don't like pink. I don't like a dot of pink on any of my gift. Nobody gifts her pink. Even she's married now, but her in-laws also see to it that they are not gifting her pink. So these are some of the things that we need to start, talking about that. And sometimes I do feel that mind does not have gender. So when we work as professionals, do we look at a person as a man or a woman? I don't. And that's what I want all my students to do. Not look at a girl as a female or a woman. Look at her as a fellow architect or a student. Don't do this gender specifics in this. I don't look at anybody as, when we talked about it, it was a wonderful point that you made, that yes, probably we made a mistake of calling all men, but it was unintentional.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Unintentional, but I will make sure that every time we are projecting a lot of women also. Projecting.
Ma'am, what I feel like that is the ideal situation,
Yeah.
where we look at people only as human beings without like gender.
Yes.
I feel like before that and right now, first we need to understand what being a woman comes with. So we need to actually first see gender and recognize that gender has so much stereotype and so much pressure on it, and then act accordingly. The empathy will only come once we actually first, to get to a world without labels, we need to have empathy for those labels first.
Yes.
And recognize that this means this, and then look at them as human beings.
Right.
Because जब तक वो empathy नहीं होगी ना, जब तक समझ नहीं आएगा, if we are also, because I feel like a lot of, again, men also behave in a way where we sometimes feel like, equality, when we talk about कि जो ना लड़कियों को equality चाहिए, but why is it that, they get this or they get that? Because the structures are terrible. You need to understand the structures and the operation that has happened for so many years. Understand when we talk about equality, why is feminism, why is it called, again everybody has this feminism क्यों बोलते, gender equality क्यों नहीं बोलते? Because gender equality में you are talking about a world which is not, we are not even close to reaching. Feminism is to get us to that world where we will someday not need feminism, where we'll only say the word gender equality. But to make both gender equal, we have to take one gender from here to here. So I'm just of a different, thoda sa ki, as empathetic human beings, we should look at each other as human beings, but we should be aware of the labels they have, so that we can act accordingly, and we are not disrespectful. We don't. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, right.
Hello, sir. My name is Mukta. So I have two questions for you. The first one being, sir, biologically, if we see men, women, transgenders, we are different, and we all have like different experiences, and that's what leads to our perspectives. Do you think that somewhere leads to having a difference in emotional capabilities, or being able to perceive emotions or project emotions in that way?
Simple answer is I don't know. I don't understand biology to that. I'm sure everything has, you know, it's sociological, it's biological, it's so many. And again, biology also, you know, the way our bodies behave is also why we are afraid of the dark, as an example. We are afraid of the dark because at one point in time in history, our ancestors in dark, it was difficult to fend for yourself in the dark because there was not light. Animals could come and eat you in the dark. So that fear is from there. Today we don't need to be afraid of the dark because there is light all around. But we are still afraid because of what used to, that's how our bodies are like, our bodies react. You know, so much of that is, you know, evolutionary also. So I'm very comfortable with saying I don't know. So I don't know, but
That's
I'm
okay.
sure that there is a lot, everything has multiple reasons. It's not just one.
So one more question.
Sure.
When we talk about speaking about emotions, you know, and expressing emotions, generally people only have these. So emotions are basically categorized into two parts, like happiness or sadness. Either it's we feel happy or sad. So we don't know exactly what we feel in that particular moment. So when you spoke about being vulnerable, we don't know what we feel, and we are not able to recognize that. So how do you think we can, and this is not subjected to any gender, it's a generic question, how do you think we can develop that emotional quotient within ourselves that we are able to recognize, okay, this is how exactly I feel. If it's a negative emotion, this is how I feel, and I need to overcome that.
So, I mean, for me, it happened through therapy, honestly. Like, I could only do it after, like, really, like, working hard at it. But I feel like there's so many resources available, Rupa. Right now, you know, YouTube pe kitna kuch hai, you know, there is such good resources on how to identify these things. But ultimately, na, as human beings, we are always going to find ourselves in situations where you might even have the theoretical knowledge and still, like, do things that are against what we understand. Because that's just how it is, you know. You can't, you will make mistakes. You will fail. You will, you know, want to be vulnerable but not be. You will not want to be vulnerable but will be. That's just how human beings are built. You know, we are not, you know, machines. And it's okay. You know, it's okay to like know things and still do them wrong or bad or not happy. It's okay. Everything is spectrum as long as we are aware that it is a spectrum. You know, we are never going to be perfect. There is no such thing. The imperfection is what makes us human. So I would say tons of resources outside, lots of beautiful, you know, Instagram pages, lots of like psychologists who are now making. There's a friend of mine called Sonali Gupta who's a psychologist. He's written this wonderful book called Anxiety, you know, and she has a mental health with Sonali. She has a handle which is where she talks about, you know, so many tools. She writes a beautiful column also, and so just seek out these people, you know, but again, in the real world scenarios, ultimately it'll only come from learning yourself. Lived experience is only going to teach you. You can know everything and still, like, you know, be human. But that's how we are, you know. So,
Thank you, sir.
thanks, Rupa.
Hi sir, this is
Hi.
Mansi here.
Mansi.
So I'm from third year. So basically, I had this question, like since I'm driving bikes, like there's 1 year I've been driving bike. And once I was just going through the highway and there's this couple who was, you know, just riding on Activa and they're just talking while going. And then this person just bumps into me and then he goes. But then he's like, "Arey bhai." He thought I was a boy riding a bike. Then when I went forward, he comes from behind and he sees me and he's like, "Oh my God, this is a girl driving." And the way he changes the tone, you know, like, "Arey tu kya kar rahi hai?" I mean, this is the thing that I've been, you know, facing like around many times when I've been driving bike. So I just wanted to ask you, how should a person react to this situation?
You know, Mansi, I'm not in your shoes, so I can't tell you how to react. You know, you're going to react how you will want to react at that time. But I know that it is unfair. I can tell you that I understand it is unfair. These are such deeply ingrained stereotypes. Women are not good drivers. Abhi recently also I saw a friend of mine who had done this like video, and I messaged him. I said ki, it's so difficult, yeah. You also don't want to seem like, you know, I typically try to have these conversations in person rather than like doing it online. You'd put a video of like two people driving and the woman is like, woman ने ये कर दिया वगैरह वगैरह. Like क्यों? क्या जरूरत है तेरे को? Funny है. Funny तो हर चीज होती है. You know, तो but why do we need to perpetuate these stereotypes? Now, and the thing is, most of the stereotypes exist for a reason. You know, like it was difficult for women to adapt to driving because for the longest time they were told not to drive. So when they were learning driving, it's just that confidence लड़कों का तो होता है कि हाँ मेरा बाप करते सब करते सारे आदमी drive करते तो fight ही नहीं है. But for women to do anything which is new, obviously there's going to be a period of like, you know, adjustment because nobody else is doing it. I've not seen it happen. So that bad driving thing also comes from that. Yes, it is hard, but it is hard because it's not been done enough, and it'll get easy when more people do it. And so you need to just be aware of it, I think, you know. And I mean, I just feel like, you know, I look at people, I have this thing where I try to look at people not as like people but as stories. कि if this person is behaving a certain way, इसकी भी कोई story है. तो मेरा दिमाग तो सीधा story पे चला जाता है. What would this guy have been taught growing up that he is speaking like this to you right now? You know, तो मैं तो वही सोचना चाहता हूँ कि I don't even, I'm like, if somebody is rude to me, I'm just like, I get like, clearly something is happening. I still stand up for myself, so it's not like I don't stand up for myself, but I don't hold it against people because I know that it's coming from a place of like, and this happens after lots of therapy and lots of like experiences. So it's okay to have that reaction. I don't think you can, you know, police your reaction. Have whatever reaction you want to, but recognize that systems are unfair. It will take you time. People are always going to judge. Maybe like the next 10 years also yahi hoga. You could have been like the world's best known driver and people might still judge. But it's okay. You like it, you like it. Khatam. You do what you like. How does it matter?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Mansi.
Hello, sir. I'm Ojas Adhikari from second year.
Hi,
So
Ojas.
first of all, that was a wonderful session.
Thanks, Ojas.
So Isha, a friend of mine who is watching this session online on YouTube, she has a question. And she asks, like Pooja ma'am asked you to talk about toxic masculinity. So instead, could you please elaborate more on the topic toxic masculinity and feminine men? And she further clarifies that by feminine men, I mean the guys who try to express themselves or be vulnerable are termed feminine by the society. So that's a question.
Outside of Richard, you're the first guy to ask a question and you also have a question from a girl. अब तुम्हारा question नहीं है पहले बताओ. तुम्हें कुछ नहीं पूछना.
क्वेश्चन तो नहीं आया सर बट आई एंजॉयड थरोली सो कोई है नहीं अभी के लिए क्वेश्चन.
सब पता है तुम्हें, सब पता है. कुछ तो होगा, कुछ भी I said you disagreed with. I said I didn't like what you said. Anything or you had like a further something.
ऐसा सच में कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं.
अच्छा पसंद क्या आया तो उस पर कुछ बता.
पसंद आया सर, पसंद आया.
तो क्या आया पसंद?
जैसे आपने ओपनली बात की सो आई फेल्ट ये ट्रूथ टॉक ज़्यादा लगा मुझे क्योंकि मतलब many people उनको पता रहता है but realize कराना पड़ता है बार बार. I think that you did, so I thank you for that. अच्छा लगा session.
I'm glad अच्छा लगा and you know you can say it, you can like, you know, it's वही ना लड़के अभी क्यों नहीं question पूछ रहे because vulnerable situation है कि सबके सामने मैं question पूछूंगा तो कैसा लगेगा लोगों को. So it's okay to ask questions, guys. Like क्या है ये सब वही ना, ये भी वही gender ही है कि जना for us to not be able to like हो भी सकता question है but afraid of judgment कि मैं question कैसे नहीं पूछूं. Okay, for your friend, I feel like all of us have like, I feel like femininity, masculinity, these are all spectrums. I feel like all genders have, you know, some aspect of this. It's also like biological, you have like whatever. But socially also, and I feel like, I don't know the right terms for it, but I feel like अंदर से भी ना हम सबके पास ना थोड़ा there is if there's empathy we call it feminine. Why is empathy feminine? Because empathy का burden has been put on women, but that doesn't mean it is feminine. You're calling it feminine because you associate it with women. But why can't men be empathetic? That's not feminine. It can still be masculine. But we think masculinity is strong. And that's not like, these are stereotypes only. So there is no such thing. Again, I would say if I have to talk about it, I'll say yes, if I don't want to question it and I have to use it, I will then say yes, I have a big feminine side to me and I embrace it. And it is okay to embrace that side. At the same time, I will ask a question and say, why is it that being vulnerable is considered feminine? Why is it not considered manly? Why can't men be vulnerable? Why can't men, speak about their feelings? Why is it feminine? सिर्फ लड़कियां बोल सकती है, लड़के बोल ही नहीं सकते. यही तो बात है, यही तो हम ही, why are we only perpetuating these stereotypes inside? कुछ नहीं है ऐसा. Girls can ride bikes, boys can express. That doesn't make her masculine. This doesn't make you feminine. This is human. We are human beings, and we need to embrace these things. So there are, इसमें बहुत discourse हो सकता है यार. What is masculinity then outside of this? What should it be? I do feel ultimately it's all about being a good human being. I don't want to get into sociological understanding of these things. I feel अच्छे इंसान हो गए कुछ भी हो सकते हो. Express yourself, be at peace with yourself. I don't know if that answers the questions, but I just say ask questions. It's so good to ask questions. And if you don't get answers, try to find those answers yourselves.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ojas. Thanks to Isha also.
Hello, sir. This is Dhritiman this side.
Hi, Dhritiman.
So, as we were talking about vulnerability, my question to you is, how do you feel that vulnerability can be transformed into a strength for any human being, irrespective of any gender?
Great question. I feel hello? To begin with, it is a strength. I don't think it's a weakness at all, but hello. I think it's fine. So, hello. Yeah, because we are part of structures where if you're vulnerable, there is a certain connotation to it. And that connotation is can this person not deal with the issues on his or her or their own? But who can? Who can actually deal with their issues on their own? सबको चाहिए होते हैं यार. No person is an island. There is no such thing. You can't. We are born in society. We are part of society. We need people. People need people. It's really that simple. So vulnerability, it's so much to do with the way you look at it. It's perception. So how do you convert it into strength? It is a strength. It's not a weakness at all. Number one. So when you're aware of that, when I talk about mental health, I talk about vulnerable bits of my life, I am not saying it from a place. Of course, these things are very meaningful and very deep to me. Every time I say it, there is something that happens in my heart. When I talk about my anxiety, I talk about my tough times. वो होता है, थोड़ा मुझे trigger रहेगा. But I need to be able to be comfortable talking about it as if it's not something to be ashamed of. If I can't talk about it, I'm putting that, कि vulnerability is like horror. But if I can talk about it, then it's... So you have to get to the place where you are at peace with what you have gone through. And that will also take time for you to process it yourself. I again feel we don't have self-love, yaar. We don't have self-love. We don't love ourselves. We're not taught to love ourselves. We're taught to love everybody else but ourselves. Parents are taught to love children. Children are taught to love parents. अपने आप को कोई प्यार सिखाना करना ही नहीं है. मैंने पहले ही बोला, प्यार करते अपने आप को selfish बोलते हैं. So self-love also needs to be so. We need to love ourselves first. We need to be. Earlier I used to find it strange to go to movies alone. मेरे को लगता था कि जो ना यार मैं पिक्चर अकेले नहीं जाऊँगा, मेरे दोस्त नहीं है क्या? It's so uncool. Now I love it. There is no one who is blabbering in my ear while I'm watching a movie. It's only me and the film. It's the favorite experience. मैं तो पूछता हूँ चलो ठीक है किसी को साथ में देखना देख लेंगे. But otherwise I'm happiest going alone. I asked my wife, you want to watch Brahmastra? She said no. I said मैं तो जा रहा हूँ. She said okay go. I said great. I'm going. And I want to watch it. अब नहीं देखना ठीक है. I'll watch it alone. It doesn't matter. So it's a going to a restaurant alone, going to a cafe alone. You can do it. You have to be comfortable with your own self first. Once you're comfortable with yourself, when you like yourself, love yourself, only then can you genuinely also have love for others. Otherwise, you will constantly keep seeking love in others, which you don't have for yourself. Thoda deep ho gaye, but there is this fantastic stand-up show called Jigsaw. I forget the name of the guy, Daniel something. It's on Netflix. It will blow your mind. If you're in a relationship, don't see it with your partner. See it alone first. And be careful. Because it may it's fantastic. But it will make you question so many things about love, about self-love, about why we love, how we love. Absolutely incredible. Jigsaw it's called. Check it out. But again, first write on a piece of paper, I love my partner, and be sure of it before watching it. Because uske baad, breakups and divorces have happened after people have watched that. There's a book he's written about that. How many people broke up after watching my special. So yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Hello, sir. This
Hi.
is Nidhi.
Hi, Riddhi.
Okay, so I
Are
want
you
to
Kriti
share.
or Riddhi?
Nidhi. No.
Nidhi.
So, okay, so I can say that I've been a little privileged enough to share a strong bond with my parents and my sibling, where maybe we can sit down on our dining table and share what we are going through. Talk about our day-to-day lives, if we are okay. But that is till some extent, not being completely transparent. And we know what our parents go through, what they have experienced, their issues, their stresses. It can be personal, past life, professional, everything. And sometimes we do feel helpless towards them. And we think that, okay, maybe therapy or support group can help them. But in our society, once you say, okay, go to therapy, you're like, no, I'm not a psycho. Why do I go? So how do you convince your parents or opt to them about maybe, just considering support group or therapy?
I also tried. I after for many years to send my dad to therapy. He went for one session. He came back. He was so angry with me. He's like, I am never going to therapy again. What happened? She thinks there's something wrong with me. I said, no, and it's not the point. She was just just didn't. It's so tough. See, I feel therapy also is, हमको समझ आ रहा है. It helps us great. That's not a tool that they were, when they grew up, that they thought is an acceptable tool. As a child to your parents, I think if you are there for them, that's really, wo bhi therapy hi hai. If you are listening to them and you're spending time with them, if you have a wholesome family time, that's so sweet. Kitna rare hai, for families to sit together and just talk about feelings. And if you're doing that, we can't fix everything. Even therapy can't fix everything, And it can fix a lot of things, so please go, but it can't fix everything. There are things that we'll only have to fix ourselves. So with parents, if they're against that tool, what can you do? You can provide your support, you can provide your emotional, you can just provide emotional support to them, and that's all they need sometimes. वो भी बहुत होता है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा होता है in fact. So don't underestimate what you already have. And the more they talk, the more friends they have, the more time they spend with you all, more time they spend with themselves. Just try to use as much meaningful time as possible with each other. And it's okay if they don't want to go to therapy. Don't need to force them. If they can get, they will do it on their own. It will never happen because of you. That I've realized. You can't push people towards, anything for that matter. Therapy to kabhi nahi. And if they're doing therapy for you, then they'll never they'll never benefit out of it. They have to do it for themselves.
No, it was like how Pooja ma'am said that how do she start the self-care at that time. So how do I convince my parents to start
maybe if you
self-care about...
Are you taking therapy?
No.
See, if you're not taking therapy, they are thinking okay, this person who's telling us has never taken it themselves. Why should I take it? Maybe if you were taking it and it was helping you, maybe they'd see it and they'd be like, okay, maybe it will help me also. But why would they do it otherwise? They've not seen any example of it. So we can't force our parents to do all of these things. I think we can just, हम लोग अपना एक सपोर्ट ग्रुप शुरू कर सकते हैं उनके लिए, बहुत बड़ी बात है. इफ़ वी आर एज चिल्ड्रन बीइंग देयर फॉर देम, चेकिंग ऑन देम, जितना पेरेंट्स ने हमको चेकअप किया व्हेन वी हैव गॉन टू, आई मीन यू आर स्टिल इन कॉलेज एंड आई हैव गॉन टू कॉलेज एंड ऑल, नाउ वी हैव टू कॉल बैक. एंड नाउ इफ माई मदर डजंट कॉल मी, आई कॉल हर. Like I know that there's a certain time that she calls me. If she doesn't call me that time, I call her. I don't want to miss that, you know, and I don't want that for her to feel that only she should be calling. I also want to call you. Only you don't want to talk to me, I also want to talk to you. And that itself sometimes is very like nice.
Yeah, I agree because I do like spending a little Sunday quality time with my mother.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's good, yeah. उससे ज़्यादा कितना मतलब, you can't fix everybody. Everybody is going to take their own time. Yeah. They'll take their own time. It's okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank you so
Nidhi.
much.
Hey sir,
Hi.
my name is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Taking a little up on what ma'am had said previously, and my question, or rather just something I want to talk about is, most of us here, I think all of us here are at this level of privilege where we can choose what we believe in, we can choose what we want to be. But what about the people we're talking about and discussing who work for us, people who work in our houses? I have a personal experience of someone who felt like they want to transition, but they don't have the funds, or they don't have that ideology in general. They think that something is wrong with them, or they think that like they don't understand. Like we, as once we grow up, we're born in this box. No matter how someone will tell us it's out far, we can explore, we are still around this, what do we call it, as life around us, and what we see is what we know, essentially. And now we're looking at so much mainstream media. Of course, with us, we can go into the niches of Netflix, we can go into the niches of these documentaries that teach us, and social media that teaches us, but what about the ones that don't get that opportunity? We're looking at people who are looking at movies I would not like to name, conversations I would not like to name, and they're grasping from that, and they are the ones coming with us, interacting with us, working with us. So how can we build that interaction with them where maybe we can help, or maybe we can change perspective? I mean, this is a very larger than life conversation, but...
Angela, I am going to, first let me say I don't know everything, okay? I am also wrong many times. I'm wrong every day, in fact. So not everything I say is like correct. I have a different opinion of everything you're saying. First of all, you said they work for us. Nobody works for us. They don't work for us. Nobody works for anybody. That itself is like ingrained. Working for us. Work for us means कौन हूँ मैं? महाराजा होंगे? कौन work for us? So nobody works for us. They're working with us. They are domestic workers working in our homes, like we work in offices. Nobody is working for anybody else. Number one. Number two, I also feel like there is, and again, this is not at all to put you on a spot, Angela, but this is my perspective. I feel like, who are we to constantly say ki, Are, unko kuch how can I help somebody else do uplift? Who are you to uplift? Who am I to uplift? Why am I looking at somebody who's like, from a certain section of society and just because they have lesser money and saying, I can help? I think this is also like, savior syndrome. Yeah, complex. मैं help कर सकता हूँ गरीब की. मैं like there are. You are not that important. I am not that important to think that I can like uplift people, and I can like change perspectives. अपना करो यार perspective change. बस वो बहुत है. अपने आसपास जो लोग हैं उनका करो perspective change. जो आपको प्यार करते हो और आप जिनको प्यार करते हो वो भी बहुत है. You want to help society change in your own structures. Teach everyone over here to have empathy. And if you teach people to have empathy, वो अपने आप सबसे अच्छे तरीके से तमीज़ से बात करेंगे. You don't need to change anybody else's view of you. You don't need to help anybody else like become better. You become better first. And I say you, I mean like all of us, me. And I feel like this is. I don't think anybody needs in that sense changing. Yeah, I feel like it has to start with us. We can't control the world. We can control our reaction to it. We can't control the world, we can control how we behave in response to it. And we need to figure out what our responses need to be. In our homes, whoever comes to work, if we are friendly with them, that's how it should be. We are human beings, there's another human being, and we are interacting with them as human beings. We are friend, like my the domestic worker who works in our home, she's my wife and her are really good friends. They give each other gifts on, like, she also gives gifts, we also give gifts. और कभी हमने उसने कुछ गिफ्ट दिया, कभी हमने ऐसा नहीं कहा कि आपने दीदी कैसे गिफ्ट दे दिया, आपके पैसे, नहीं, कुछ नहीं है यार. It's from her heart, she's giving something, I'm giving something from my heart, and that's it. They are really good friends. वो WhatsApp एक दूसरे करते हैं, जब छुट्टी पे जाती है वो फोटोज भेजती हैं, हम जाते हैं तो हम भेजते हैं. They are a friendly relationship, and that's how it is. Everybody is friends with each other. Why just because somebody is like from a different background or context and we should be like? तो ये ना हमको भी थोड़ा सोचना ना चेंज करना पड़ेगा. This is caste privilege. This is upper class with privilege, where we feel like we have the right or the responsibility to change someone who is more oppressed than us. We can't change anything. We can only change who we are, what we are doing, and our surroundings. If we are kinder, more empathetic, more friendly, more human, that's how things will change on their own. This is my perspective, and again, I want to say this, that I don't have all the answers. I am not, this is nothing to do with masculinity, and you've asked me a very different question. I would still say I have some perceptions and some little bit of expertise in talking about this subject. I don't have, so I could be wrong completely, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is what I feel.
Right. No, you are absolutely right when you do say there's a savior complex that has been created, and it is on us how we deal and interact with these people. Yeah, but I think I'm losing what I initially did want to say, where it's when I talk about people working with us, working in our houses, I also talk about the gender based work that they do, where at points where why does someone who comes to my house to cook have to be a female, or why does someone who drives a car have to be a male? These sort of narratives where you can tell that maybe they do not want to be in that situation, and nobody does at some point maybe want to be in that situation. So these are the kind of conversations that come up personally, on a personal level, with me, with the people I am around. So a different narrative to maybe be able to, kind of talk to them and tell them and talk them about them.
That's all there is, yeah. Just talk and just listen. Just have these conversations. You can't, Nidhi can't change her parents, you can't change her life. That's how it is, unfortunately. You can just talk and you can just listen. Can you create a safe space for her to express herself? That's beautiful. Because if you can do that for her, you can do that for your friends, you can do that for your parents. That's all is expected. Also, don't put that pressure on yourself that you need to kind of do something. Why? You are the society. See, you can change yourself, and that is your contribution to society. You can raise good children, that's your contribution to society. You can have in your family WhatsApp group, if people are spreading misinformation, have that conversation. If they are making bad jokes about sexist jokes, tell them don't do it. That's good contribution. Change your loved ones, change yourself. बहुत है. उसके अलावा बाकी सोसाइटी के अंदर जस्ट क्रिएट सेफ स्पेसेस, पीपल एक्सप्रेस, वो भी दे डोंट गेट दैट, वही करेंगे बहुत ज़्यादा है. एंड अगेन दिस क्वेश्चन शुड नॉट बी एड्रेस टू समवन लाइक मी, बिकॉज आई एम नॉट द राइट पर्सन टू आंसर दिस. देयर सो मेनी पीपल हु आर एक्सपर्ट्स एंड हु हैव स्पेंट देयर लाइफ्स वर्क इन लाइक speaking on these issues, working on these issues. They are the right people to answer this. So like, and we shouldn't be asking, like, again, even if I can talk nicely on one topic, does not need to mean that I am going to be very smart about some other topic also. I could be completely stupid in that topic, and I'm aware of that. So like, this is also what we need to all be aware of. Nobody is fully like intelligent about everything. There's hundreds and thousands of things that I don't know. I could have a good positive opinion on something, which I assume is a good positive opinion. At the same time, I could like just not have any clue on like something else. I'm learning. I'm trying to learn, but I shouldn't be answering those questions, I feel.
Of course, yeah.
Thanks.
Regardless. Thank you.
Hi, Srishti. How are you?
Hi, Nikhil. I'm good. How are you?
So she's been part of a chat show we did at Yuva called Education. And please check that out if you can. She's runs a fantastic page. And it was the first chat show we did in 2018-19, I think. 19.
17.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of that. So nice to see you here.
Thank you. Thank you for the personal PR. So my question today was, now that we're talking about gender dialogues of on perception of masculinity. So somewhere or the other, I feel that when we're talking about perception of masculinity, I think accountability and vulnerability spaces, like spaces of vulnerability, they go hand in hand. They're not two isolated conversations. So as much as I agree with you, wherein spaces for men where they're vulnerable they're the most alarming need of the hour. But I still feel that there's no accountability also from a lot of cis males or just males end. And I think these are not two isolated topics. They are quite integrated. When there will be accountability, only then there can be a space formed for vulnerability. So I think I would want you to elaborate a little more on that.
I love that, and I completely, absolutely agree. And even when I was talking about this, right, like, see, if you're creating positive spaces, it is an extension, but of course it needs to be said. As an extension, you are also creating spaces that are going to be non-toxic then. And you are going to have, the hope is that in having vulnerable conversations, you are going to also have accountable conversations. But it needs to be said, and you're absolutely right. Accountability is just as important. And again, yeah, it's so hard. And it's so hard to explain why we need to hold each other and ourselves accountable. Because holding ourselves accountable is also hard. It's like when you tell men to be part of the conversation about equality, and you tell them, ki feminism is great and women are gaining rights, what does that have to do with you? The truth is that yes, you're right. Kahin na, in some ways, you are going to lose a little bit of privilege. And men have the right question, why should I lose my privilege? मुझे अच्छी लगती है privilege. And फिर वहीं हम लोग अटक जाते हैं कि there is because everybody says you will not lose privilege. Why can't you support women? But you will lose privilege. And what our conversation needs to be that it's okay to lose privilege, because you will get other privileges. You might lose the privilege that you currently have, which is that you might not get the same amount of money that you were earlier getting, because some of that money will be given to a woman to the gender pay gap को equal करने के लिए. But you will get the privilege of having maybe not that pressure of earning that money only yourself, because that money is now also being earned by your partner. So if you're losing something, you're also gaining, and you're gaining time maybe. So that's the conversation we need to have. We should not skirt that conversation and say that, ki men will not lose anything if, they support women. You will lose, but you will also gain. And let's talk about that gain also. So when we hold ourselves accountable, it is hard. But that will help us lead better lives. It'll be hard now, but eventually it'll be good. If there's a friend of ours who's doing something really terrible, or is being misogynistic, being sexist, being not a nice person, being cruel, let's not even get into labels, being cruel, being not nice, not being decent, we should call that person out irrespective of any gender. But men particularly, because we have normalized cruelty as fun, as humor. How do we make sure that we don't do that? If someone's being cruel with each other, just talk to each other and say, yaar, ye nahi karne ki zarurat hai. Why do we need to raise this joke? And you can say it in all the love in the world. So absolutely agree with you. The word accountability I have not used, but yes, that is very, very important. I try to use terms that are always about a positive power rather than, because I feel like, आप जब ये बातें करते हो ना, ये थोड़ी evolved conversations हैं. So conversation on accountability is a second level of a conversation. While it is correct that it needs to happen together, but we are not even having basic conversations first. Until you have the conversation about what is masculinity, how will you have a conversation about accountability for being a man? That's someone who has read, gone through, lived experience, spoken, heard, but hundreds of many years now that I've done this. I can talk about it in a certain manner that I don't expect when I go to a college that, people to talk. So when I go to colleges, I try to keep it to as basics as possible. Of course, there are also colleges sometimes that are like media colleges or, sociology colleges, etc., etc. वहाँ पर वो बात ही अलग होती है. Then we are not even talking, we're talking about the third level, the fifth level of this. So absolutely, we need to talk about that, but I feel like at the very basic thing, we need to talk about being a good human being. We need to talk about kindness, we need to talk about empathy, we need to talk about vulnerability. And once we do all of this, then let's introduce accountability and say, here's why, now that you understand this, here's why accountability is important. It is absolutely incredibly important. I'm just telling about like how to have that conversation better. This is my opinion again.
Yeah, I think that would go more in flow, or that is more likely to happen. And one more, not a question, but like more like a statement. Since I was a little confused with the topic because it said gender dialogues and then on perception of masculinity. So I was expecting like a more intersectional panel, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that right now we have at least there is thoda to hai intersectionality. But yeah, absolutely. When I agree, you know, Srishti, that we should, in every space that we have, it should be heard from everyone. I feel like, you know, even मुझे तो क्या लगता है ना, जैसे as an example, I was talking about, and these are all layers, yeah, so many layers. There is the guy the boy I spoke about, a business head. His reels do well. He looks, when you look at him now, वो कबीर सिंह जैसा दिखता है देखने में, you know, and I don't mean an offense, I mean like this is how he looks. He has this like masculine, so to speak, beard, perception-wise. He's like well built, tall, you know, and he looks like a man speaking. And then when a man speaking, I do the same reels, men ki jagah na women are responding. But when he does the same reel, men respond to it. And that is just how it is layers. The reason he's doing that reel instead of me, because I know that his reel is going to get more reach because he looks like, more traditionally looks like a man. You know, I also have, मैं shave कर दूँगा बच्चा सा दिखूँगा मैं. I have kept a beard because I look like a kid otherwise. So I've had to also like figure out, you know, but it is what it is. If I'm speaking, I as an empathetic man speaking on masculinity is always going to have more women being, you know, oh wow, what a great speaker versus men. I hope men also feel like that, but I feel like women always respond to me better because they have been conditioned to speak and think about empathy a lot more than men. Yeah. So with men, I try to keep it as basic as possible. And you know, and I feel like a panel like this, at least it's a beginning. So for me, I feel very grateful that, you know, at least I'm being called, you know, and we are having this discussion. And like, and of course, in this discussion, I will make that point that maybe the next panel should be intersectional. Yeah. But I don't want to, you know, so I refuse panels when it's only men on the panel.
Yeah, I know.
I have never, like, in my life, I've never done a panel which is only men on it.
Yeah.
I have always said no. In fact, I have recommended and said, there are 3 men on this panel, please get another woman. I am not doing. You know, but I want to, but if there is a panel where even if there's posters 4, I would want to be part of it because I know this topic and conversation is very important.
Yeah.
So it's all learning, Srishti. I feel like all of us have so much to learn, and I feel like we need to allow ourselves and each other the space to kind of learn step by step. Yeah. That learning is never going to happen. You know, you've been part of such a fantastic, wonderful group and support system, and you've created it at such a young age. You know, that you, through that support system, have probably gotten so much more understanding of like, you know, issues that the world is, because you just heard each other out. Yeah. The more everyone over here hears each other out, I can tell you like that will also start changing. Yeah. So but it takes time. Our average person only has like 10 people that we are talking to. But then which is why social media diet becomes very important. Who are you following then? 10 people are your friends, but you're following 100 people who might be more toxic. So, but बहुत है ये बात करने को. I'm just glad it's happening. But you're absolutely right. Intersectionality is important, accountability is important, and we now need to make sure that we have those conversations more.
I'm really glad you put it out there. I'm genuinely glad.
Thanks, Srishti. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Arav.
Sorry, what's your name?
Arav.
Arav. Nice to meet you, Arav.
So my question is from my incidents from the traveling. From 2 incidents are there, and one is that when I was trailing the bus, they were said like.
Can you hold your mic closer? Thoda?
They were sitting, like men were sitting and the women was standing. So they were like, let the ladies sit, and the man told, why should I get up? Like I am also tired. I also need rest. So all the fellow mates are telling you should get up. Like let the ladies sit. And the second incident was like. There were no seat, they were standing, and the driver suddenly hits the brake and one falls, like slightly touched to a woman, so she was like, how dare you touch me, and all the men also supporting her. So in this situation, the positive, like genuine men are also targeted. So how will you support the positive masculinity in this?
This is like this is a question out of like a sociology textbook right now. Like, you know, ये incident हुआ, अब बताओ इसका correct क्या है, wrong. It's like always you're testing me now, asking me what should I say. Uh, as I said, ask questions first. Everybody should ask questions. When we talk about why women have seating in buses, we should ask why, and not to like make. I think it's okay to ask. We don't allow questions, and now it's become so, everything has become so angry that every question is like wrong. There are no wrong questions. They're just wrong answers. If you don't know how to answer, it's a wrong answer. But there are right answers to this also. You will get an understanding. There are spaces that are created because buses, and again, it's architecture student. It really comes down to spaces. Buses, traditional spaces, men take more men on buses than women. When women stand, there are more chances of them getting harassed because there's so much crowd, वगैरह वगैरह. So you're given seats. You sit because men, जब होंगे खड़े, there is chances, and it's not just chances, it happens. 90% of public spaces. We work with Save the Children. We have worked on a campaign around this. Literally, इस पे campaign किया कि buses के अंदर ना women कितनी unsafe होती है हमारी country के अंदर. कि when they stand, how much harassment. When they sit also, there's harassment. People are taking videos and putting on YouTube यार. कि कैसे लड़की बैठी हुई है उसकी photos खींच के. It's terrible. It's just terrible. So those spaces exist for a reason. When you are telling women, when you're telling a man get up and allow the woman to sit, you're not just doing it out of respect. There is sociological reasons behind it. Respect is one thing. Respect everybody, as I said. Don't just respect women. Don't just respect men. Don't respect people other genders. Don't just respect old people, young people. Everybody respect karo. In that way, if you're an able-bodied person and you feel like there's somebody who's not maybe able-bodied, ask them. And again, don't presume that they might need it. Ask them. I feel like at this time I'm fitter. I feel like would you require? And you should ask it to even an old fragile man, if there's frail man. If you have an older man who's standing, who's 65, 70, he should be doing the same thing for that person also. It's about decency, it's about respect. So number one, that. So I feel like there is gender, understand where it is coming from. Read upon these. There are answers to all of this. We don't want to find those answers. We are more interested in getting angry and getting into arguments. क्यों होता है? क्यों नहीं लड़के बैठ सकते? लड़कियों क्यों बैठेंगी? सीख तुम्हें on internet पे जाओगे, Google करो, सब पता चल जाएगा तुम्हें. There are answers are there, and they're very well written answers explaining why public spaces में ये होता है. Every single one of these things has such a deep and brilliant answer that we just spend 5 minutes, you'll find out. But unfortunately, अब तो misinformation हो चुकी है. आधे सब results वही होंगे which agree with you, which will tell you that yes, it's wrong. Absolutely, you are right. तुमने जो बोला है वो correct है. But we should keep our mind open and try and find out alternate perspectives so we can learn more. That's number one. Number two, of course it is wrong. Of course it should not happen. It's happened with me also. Let me tell you this. I have been in a queue where, like queue mein piche dhakka aaya, and this is in Bombay at a festival and I am like, with all the stuff that I say and whatnot, I have also been in a position where a young woman then turned around and got angry at me and said, oh, how are you behaving? I was like, I'm sorry, it was from there. Oh, every man says they're sorry, etc. But I know. Now, I can get into that argument, take it personally and say that, oh, how dare you, do you know I talk about these issues? But I understand. Her anger is not on me. Her anger is on the institution. We need to understand that. The anger is actually directed at institutions that is taken out at human beings. It's the institution of patriarchy that she's angry at. It's all men, the men institution that she's angry at, not at me personally. Now, I can take it personally and I can make it about me, but it's not about me. So I can let it go. It's okay to let it go. Because I know that women are far more oppressed than I'll ever be. I might be the first guy this woman has, she might be the first woman who has said this to me, but every day there are 10 men who are doing this to her. So that context I need to have. So I just let it go. I apologized again. I said, I'm sorry. And I kept a safe distance. And it's okay to do that. And don't have to take everything so personally. Oh, my masculinity is being endangered because a woman said, "Tumne aise kaise kar diya?" It's not. It's not. And she is going through something that you don't know about. And you are going through something she doesn't know about. As I said, the ideal world is where we respect everybody and don't have any labels on anybody. But we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world where everybody is oppressed in some way or the other, and there are people who are far more oppressed than we are. I have the privilege today to during a work day spend this kind of time, here. That privilege my धोबी may not have, because उसको पैसे कमाने हैं और मुझे हैं थोड़े पैसे. So now I can take this time out. I need to understand that. I will say respect all, but I need to understand that he will. I can't complain now ki why is this person getting like a tax write-off from, as an example, bad example, but a tax write-off for example. मुझे क्यों नहीं मिल रहा? मैं ज़्यादा कमाता हूँ. When they say tax the rich, because मेरे पास हैं पैसे, मुझे बस और पैसे मिल रहे हैं अभी. I have enough to survive in a certain way for some time. But people are day to day, minute to minute, they need money to survive. I need to be aware of that. So it's all, ultimately it comes down to being a decent human being, Arav. That's what I feel. Ultimately it comes down to being a nice person, kind person, empathetic person. But more importantly, I feel like जितना पढ़ोगे ना, जितना आप समझने की कोशिश करोगे, and I'd recommend, again, no shade on anybody, but try and like follow, like, now find social media folks who you can learn something new from. You have maybe picked up a certain kind of thing from the people you follow. अब और क्या नहीं तुम जानते? Follow like influencers who maybe like challenge you. It's okay to be challenged. It's okay to be uncomfortable, because from that discomfort you will learn more. Allow yourself to be in that situation. And I'll tell you, it will be so amazing. Every point of view. I have, for the longest time I wasn't someone who traveled a lot. And then I started traveling once, and उसके बाद मेरी ज़िंदगी ऐसे जो मैंने दिमाग खोला है ना, I can't stop traveling now because I meet all kinds of people here. And then I've now have friends from like Mexico, from Argentina, from like South Asia. हर जगह से मेरे दोस्त हैं. And I have spent time listening to their lives and talking about mine. All kinds of people, every kind of background possible, and I have learned something about myself. There has never been a situation where I've been like, this is a waste of time. I've only learned something. It's only made me a better human being when I hear the stories of others. So hear them. That's what I would say. I'm glad that you're asking these questions, because we should ask questions, and these questions should not be shut down. I feel like the worst thing we do is that we shut down any man who has a question about women. We shouldn't shut it down. And again, I feel like the onus of the answer should not be on women, it should be on other men. But other men also need to know. So maybe it's teachers and elders and whoever knows, yaar. Jisko samajh aata hai, samjhao aap. Because that's the only way. There is no point in saying, mujhe pata, tumhe nahi pata, tum gadhe ho. That's the worst thing we can do. If you understand something, share that knowledge. Yaar. You share it, it will grow. The world will become better if you have something positive to offer. So but thank you for asking that question. I'm really glad that you are asking these questions, and keep questioning, Arav. I would say, but try and find out answers to them as much as you can. And don't go for the first answer that will agree with you. Sometimes it is correct, but sometimes it might actually be the wrong answer. So try and find 2-3 answers and then take a call. Does this person without being biased, is this person making sense according to you? If I leave my biases aside, is there logic in this? If you find it, great. If you don't find it, it's okay to reject it also. I don't find logic, maybe there's somebody else who will convince me. Does this make sense to you?
Yes. Thank
Are
you.
you sure?
Yes.
Okay, thanks Ara for this question.
Thank you.
I think, you have a question?
No, it's not a question actually, but one of our fellow professors who's actually attending online, Professor Tanmay Wagre, she has sent a statement that I'm just conveying it to you. So she has written, hello Nikhil, I just want to say a thank you for the wonderful session today. It was truly inspiring and I enjoyed every minute, highly motivated. She also writes, thank you for a very powerful discourse that could not have been more persuasively communicated. Your style of presentation was both engaging and empathetic. It was pitched just right. So on behalf
Thank you
of
so
her, I
much.
just said it.
That means a lot to me. Thank you so much, ma'am, for watching. It means a lot. Thank you.
Well, I think on that note, on Tanmay's note, we'll close the question answer session. Thank you, Nikhil. You've opened many doors today, many doors of thought. I think it's a new zone for a lot of us. We're going to think it's going to take time to seep in, to absorb. Also, probably reflect in our behavior probably, but yes, it's something, it's a direction that was much needed today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me. Thank you for encouraging such discourses, such discussions. It means a lot. I just also want to thank everybody over here who spent all this time listening. I know it's not like easy. We spent, I don't know, now good 3 hours and you've all been here. Lots of people have caught up and left. You've all been here. So big thank you to your time. I'd like for you to applaud for yourselves. I think it's so nice of you that you have spent this time. I know बीच में एक दो पीछे सो भी गए थे. I hope you had a nice sleep. And it was, it was really sweet to see. But those who were awake, I'm really, I'm very grateful. And but as ma'am said, this is not meant to be like there is a right way to live and a wrong way to live. I just also want to say that, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. There is stuff that I may know now that has only come from a lot of experience that you may not agree with right now, and that's okay. Take your time to figure out who you are, what thing works for you. What are the value systems that are acceptable to you, that you enjoy, that you find encouraging? And it doesn't have to be either or. It can be a bit of everything. Give yourself that space. Give yourself that time to grow. I'm just one person. Hear as many diverse opinions as possible. Find out what works for you. Question things. Take as much knowledge as possible. You are young. You have some time on your hands. Use that time to kind of open your minds. It's so important. Yeah, it's so important. I would never I feel I'm so grateful for being just in the company of some amazing people who have learned so much from. Just had good discussions, just great discussions. Spend that time, So again, I just want to say there's no one right way or wrong way. This discussion is just one of many you will have. And I hope that, you pick up something from every one of them and find out who you are. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. It was really great to be here. Thank you for all the questions. I got so many. I was so happy to see that so many people have questions, and it's really nice. Before I leave, I want to take a selfie with all of you, if that's okay. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that everyone's like, जो सोए में वो भी जाग जाएंगे कि फोटो के लिए सब सेल्फी के लिए सब जाग जाते हैं. So if you want to, are you done, ma'am? Yeah, okay. So whatever is left, and then I'll call everyone. Just come aage se and we'll take a nice picture.
I thank you so much, sir. We will now request our principal, Alka Tawari ma'am, to share her thought. Thank you, ma'am. We would now call upon Professor Anuprita Surve to give the vote of thanks.
मैंने गुड मॉर्निंग लिखा था, गुड आफ्टरनून हो गया. सो थैंक यू. गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीबॉडी. As all good things come to an end in life, so is the Samvad Shrinkhala Season 6. On behalf of CTS College of Architecture, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly, including the audience, have contributed to this seminar. Samvad Shrinkhala, a creative assemblage. At the outset, I thank Mr. Nikhil Taneja for his speech on a slightly crucial topic on the perception of masculinity. On a lighter note, it has brought us to appreciate that the fact that there are problems to the unfair sex as well. A pun intended. Sorry. Well, it was you had colored it feminist, so thank you for that. Well, patriarchy gives false sense of power to men, which is detrimental to men and not beneficial to women. Maybe we should abolish it. Difficult to. Therefore, in this time and age, in this society, we must keep asking these questions and have deliberations on them. Thank you, Nikhil Taneja, for raising new questions and generating conversations. Thank you, your word. So, thank you. I would yeah, you clap. I would also extend my gratitude and thanks to all the speakers, the passionate personalities like Sandeep Shikre, Mr. Chetan Sharma, Mr. Ravish Jaiswal, Mr. Nikhil Taneja, for giving such appealing and thought-provoking presentations that triggered this event with stimulating dialogue or samvad. I would also thank our speaker for keeping the audience engaged and answering almost all their questions. All of them were very patient. It is my honor today that feel free to clap whenever you want to. We have the time. It is my honor today that we are able to thank our supportive management and governing council for providing us with all the facilities that are required to execute the event. A big thank you and heartfelt gratitude to the following colleagues and faculty members for their contribution to the event. Our principal, Professor Alka Tavri, for showing or planting the seeds of samvad, conceptualizing and encouraging the space for parallel work and thoughts. To the faculty team of professors, Lakshmi Harikumar, Tanmay Wagle, Iravati Nath, with students, Dikshita, it's going to be long, by the way. So, Dikshita, Mansi, Yash Mewada, Akshita, Rucha, Anika, for setting up the tone for the event through crucial task of converting ideas into visuals with their lovely illustrations that have lit up our college. Professor Pooja Shah, Professor Mrunmay Gauri, Professor Shweta Parab and Professor Umesh Malia for being an integral part of the organizing team of this Samvad Shrinkhala and stepping in at crucial times to take it ahead. For handling behind the scene madness, all that you see, by faculty members, Manali Ingle, Mitali Harmalkar, Alisha Acharya and Rohan Jadhav, along with student volunteers, Alston, Niyati, Vratika, Shrishti, Gautam, Mansi Bhavishkar, Janvi, Gavin, Yash More and Riti Joshi. Professor Umesh with his team of volunteers, Arav and Ojas, for designing the technical execution of this event and creating an exclusive support system with the help of Sagar. For the smooth moderation skills by my colleagues, Professor Mrunmay and Professor Tanmay, and students Nadia, Salika, Iravati, Dev and Anushka. To the entire team of students from second and third year for setting up the exhibition in a matter of days, and all those who helped set up banners, posters and flex for the event. Clap. Guidance, encouragement, appreciations are forces that drive an event ahead for this. And for this, we have to thank all our colleagues and faculty members of CTS COA, including our librarian Dheeraj Chogle, a special thank you for our administration department for their active involvement, especially Vaishali, for handling our communication skills, communication emails. And with this, we conclude the present Samvad Shrinkhala. But the Samvad continues. We hope we meet you soon in our next series. Thank you all. Take good care, stay safe, and good day. Thank you.